When we're about to get started, if everyone could take a seat. I would like to call the RTM budget hearing for Monday, April 7th, 2025 to order. Will the clerk take the roll?
Ken Astorita. Here. Peter Britton. Melissa Longo. Brooks Baracino. Tara Cook Littman. Megan McCloat. Dave Rock.
Here.
Chris Shea. Bob Elwinger. Mike Hardigan. Jeff Steele. Cindy Waldron. Laura Carson.
Here.
Michelle McCabe. Marcy Spallier. Liz Zesma. Josh Garskoff.
Here.
Kristen O'Neill. Sharon Pastilli.
Here.
Jay Wolk. Rob Blanchard. Nancy Donnie.
Here.
Eric Druniak. Alex Ocampo.
Here.
Steve Barretts. Lori Galdenzi. John Kuhn. Scott Nickel. Lenny Brayman. Chris Carroll. Colin Colburn. Christine Ludwizak. Drew Georgiadis. Lisa Havey. Mark McDermott.
Here.
Karen Wackerman.
Here.
Matt Ambrose. Justin Contrado. Margaret Horton. Here. Pierre Ratsky.
Here.
Thank you. Let's all stand for the pledge. Thank you. Before we get started, I just want to review that we have a really busy schedule for our budget hearings. Out of respect to the department heads and presenters, as well as the members of this body, I will ask that members only ask questions. At our budget voting meeting, there will be opportunities for comments that are not questions. I will also allow each member to ask 2 questions per topic before moving on to another member who has not spoken yet on the budget item. Please refrain from asking questions that have already been asked. And I just want to thank everyone who's come out tonight, the members of this body, as well as the members of the administration, the heads of the not-for-profits, and all of the department heads. We appreciate the time you're taking, and we know you're the third body here. Many of you have come to. We're going to start with the first selectman presentation. First Selectman Gerber.
So I guess I'll share the presentation on the screen.
For people online, we're just waiting to get the presentation up so you can see it on the screen. Perfect. And for Selectman Gerber, don't forget we have to hold the buttons down here at the RTM now again.
Okay. Well, thank you for having me here today to present. Can I get here? Okay. There? Ah. Okay, there we go. Okay, so what I'm going to go through, I don't know if you can see this. Can you read it? Okay. A little bit about what we've been doing and the themes that we're going to be carrying through to this coming fiscal year. One of the things we've been investing in is enhanced communications. So part of this is frustration from residents about not knowing about projects or the status of projects, not hearing about things like when their neighborhood was smelling because of the broken sewage plant, what was the status update? When there's plans for sidewalks or street improvements, not knowing the status of that. So what our communications, head of communications, Lisa Claire, has been doing is segmenting out email distribution lists wherever possible based on project area, by district, sometimes by street. That's been a big effort this year to try to keep people informed of projects. And we're not there yet, but we're hoping over the next year or two to get to the point where we can alert people to issues in their immediate area and on ongoing status. The other thing for communications that we've been finding is there's a real education component to what we're doing, and people in general have been happy to hear about how their government functions. We've been doing profiles of departments and personnel, and that in part has gotten some people interested in commissions that they didn't know about. For example, the Shellfish Commission was something that people didn't know about, and we've concentrated on various commissions and departments by through the email and highlighting open positions. We've gotten now more people applying for things that and they're responding that the reason they applied was seeing the openings in the emails as opposed to hearing it directly from me or somebody else. And a major thing that we've been concentrating on is trying to get people motivated to write their senators, state senators, representatives about major issues, coming together, in some cases forming coalitions to fight against things like the United Illuminating Monopole. Most recently, our communications director is focusing on a Safe Streets Alliance, bringing together different departments within town. And we're going to be rolling out a major initiative to try to get people to slow down and drive more safely. And this will be in the coming months. Investments in financial risk management and controls. A big emphasis over the past year, it's going to be continuing into the coming year, is more focus on the control environment. Under the previous administration, the internal auditor spent the majority of her time on non-audit functions. I believe she spent 20% or less of her time on audits. Now she's focused almost completely on internal audits. And with Tom Harris here as CFO, who's a former auditor himself, as am I, we are now conducting monthly senior team internal audit review meetings and addressing internal control weaknesses wherever we see them. Again, that's also an ongoing process. Not everything can be addressed at once, but we are taking this very seriously, and our internal auditor is continuing to crank out a high number of reports that reveal things to work on. A major issue that I found when I came in was how we were handling our investment funds. Very large amount of money, 150 million or so was in uninsured bank deposits, which meant that if a bank went under, we would have lost almost $150 million. We brought in someone that many of you may know, Ken Brackfeld, who used to be on the Board of Finance, a former investment advisor, to help us move into a more appropriate and safe investing program. We now have most of our investments in custody accounts, in treasury bonds that are laddered to meet our cash flow requirements. And Tom Harris, our new CFO, is working diligently on trying to develop a cash flow projection so that we can invest as many dollars as we possibly can safely and get the highest return that we can. We still need to keep certain amount of money in our bank accounts, but we've moved that under an FDIC insured, it's called IntraFi deposit placement program. We've been investing in constituent services, and that we re-implemented the citizen request action form that had been scuttled with the implementation of the new website under the prior administration. We got a lot of feedback that the new website's format was not adequate for the needs of the town. So we went back and re-implemented the old program, which is working well again. The Complete Streets Coordinator, Mega Jane, is developing a robust reporting system for street safety projects. And we continue to have on staff a part-time constituent services coordinator to respond to constituent emails. Big investments in human resources. Other than hiring Tom Harris to my left, we've hired a general manager of the WPCA utility, Michelle Gore, and she is sort of pulling together the investment plan that we need to make the sewer system viable for the ongoing for the future. We are in the process of looking for a new DPW director, as Bucky Marsilio will be retiring soon. And we are in the process of developing a performance review system for all our employees, and that will be rolled out in the coming year. Our Human Resources Department has rewritten many of the job descriptions, and there are many antiquated job descriptions. For example, in DPW, I think they've halved the number of job descriptions and done a job reclassification study that defines career paths, and hopefully our DPW workers will find that helpful in defining a career path and knowing what machines that they can learn how to use and get proficient on, which will define a career path for them going forward. Our Human Resources Department spent an awful lot of time out to bid for and did an RFP for health insurance, and that came back with great results. It's allowing us the town to keep healthcare costs flat over the coming year. They spent a lot of time implementing a modernized time and attendance system, and that will continue to be rolled out over the coming year. That is a process, not easy for a lot of people to adjust from punching in, punching out with cards on a time clock to now some people are going to be using their phones and their computers, but I'm sure we are going to get through it, and ultimately it's going to save a lot of time for managers who are going through physical paper right now and trying to figure out who worked when and things like that. So that's going to go away. It's going to be a heck of a lot easier. We had an auditor review our payroll processes, and he highlighted some significant control deficiencies. We are we are taking care of those by outsourcing payroll, and the implementation of that has been, it's been a little rocky, but we have gotten through the first part of it and should be completely through that within the next few weeks. So that will take care of most of our internal control problems and also will allow us to implement new contracts without some of the problems that we've had in the past in updating payment and hourly rates and things like that. We're migrating to a third party for pension administration. That's with Milliman, and part of that has already been implemented, started April 1st. And that will be continue to be rolled out for police and fire through the end of the year. That's a big emphasis of Megan Brandt and our benefits group within human resources. The advantage to that is just consistency and also in the process ensuring that what's in our system, Milliman is demanding that's within the system is well understood and in compliance with the contracts that we have in place with our unions. We're investing in promoting ethical conduct. So we reconfigured the town's anonymous reporting system. Under the previous administration, emails were directed to the administration, the town attorney, human resources director, and First Select Woman's chief of staff. Emails are now directed to the Ethics Commission and Human Resources Director. And it's really in the Ethics Commission's hand now to determine which complaints to pursue or not, not the administration. It's creating a greater volume of work, but I think we can all feel more comfortable that issues are not are not at risk of being of any bottlenecks of getting major issues investigated. And we have conducted multiple independent investigations regarding ethical complaints. We want to make sure that those are done transparently, and we have invested a lot of money in order to get people requesting those complaints comfortable. We've assigned a team this year to strengthen the town's standards of conduct and ethics requirements, and some of those are being picked up by the Charter Revision Commission. And I believe this body, the RTM, it has an ordinance in front of it for that purpose. We've made big investments in street safety and will continue to do so over the coming year. We have a grant that we received, and we have gone out and finished an RFP process for an advisory firm, consulting firm for the Streets and Roads for All Safety Action Plan. It's a federal grant, and our engineering and local traffic authority and Complete Streets coordinator will be very much involved in working with the, we haven't announced the consulting company that received that grant, the bid yet, that was awarded the bid, but we will be talking about that soon. The Fairfield Traffic Authority was formed and operating thanks to this body that approved it. The local traffic authority is no longer under the police commission, and we now have a Fairfield Traffic Authority that includes the Complete Streets coordinator, Megan Jane, but also a member of the police commission, and an engineer, Bill Hurley, town planner, Emmeline Harrigan, and and a couple of and also our chief of police. We have we're fortunate to have people who live in town serving as residents, serving on this board, who are also in planning, and one of them is head of the traffic authority in Stamford. So we are able now, with this setup and with the Complete Streets coordinator in place, to accelerate street safety projects, and you'll be seeing more and more of those coming to fruition around town. We are building in-house design and construction expertise for Complete Streets. We did the construction for the roundabout in-house, and Mega Jane is doing some of the design in-house. We have a Safe Streets Alliance campaign kickoff, which will be starting soon. And the purpose of all this is to get to zero traffic deaths. And that is Vision Zero pledge that many of the people in the department, in the administration signed. We've made a big investment and will continue to make a big investment in emergency services. We've invested in our 911 call center. We hired a civilian call center expert and moved senior police department personnel back to PD. That was earlier in the year. We are right-sizing the staff and appropriately handle the volume of work. It's a very stressful job, high burnout, and in order to get to the point where we can bring in other towns, which is our goal, because that will save us money and we'll get efficiencies that way. We need to have the right level of staff with the right structure. So that's what we're investing in, and should say that it was discussed last year that we actually turned away a town because our 911 call center personnel did not think we could handle it. But once we can bring in additional towns, this will help us achieve our goal of having a more efficient and for us cost neutral or even cost savings to the town for hosting this. We host this at Sacred Heart University. We are in charge of it, but it is a collaboration with Westport, and we share costs with Westport. 2/3, they take 1/3 of the costs. We take 2/3. We have made an investment in infrastructure and managing of construction projects, and this is going to be a big push during the coming year. The construction management and operations team, led by the person on my right, David Becker, Chief Operating Officer. We have moved some engineers and other personnel from other departments into this group. And they are focusing, laser focused on capital planning and tight construction management. We've had, issues in the past with our, oh, my hand is shaking. This is kind of a pain. Sorry. Thanks. Wow. I need to get some more exercise, I think. But so we've had issues in the past with losing track of projects, timely updates, sometimes not updating our capital plan, making last minute changes to the capital plan that sort of blow out the whole waterfall, and to the surprise of many on all the various boards, requiring last minute, changes in approvals and things like that. So what we're working on is a very orderly and tightly managed process for capital planning, but as well as managing outsourced, managing construction companies. You have to really stay on top of construction companies when they put in change orders, and we're dedicating the resources to closely monitor and push back on change order requests, as well as the expertise to reduce the costs of some of the management of these projects by having our in-house people actually do some of the management of these projects. We are going from part-time to full-time grants management to look for opportunities to offset some of the large infrastructure expenditures that we need to make, including in our WPCA utility, which, as we all know, was crumbling. We've talked about it a lot, making huge investments in that area. Michelle Gould has been a great addition to the team, and she's helping develop the plan. But we also have Sabrina Bernardi within David Becker's operations capital management group, who helps with the budgeting and capital planning for that. So the other thing I'd like to mention, if you don't already know, is that capital projects, some of them were managed in a really diffuse way. Police, fire, Parks and Rec often manage their own projects. We're trying to consolidate the expertise in this group so that when fire needs to renovate a firehouse, this group will take the lead on it, make sure we get the right plans in place and the right processes, and the best pricing. Okay. Making investment, we will be this year making investments in smart planning and development. So we have an 8-30G moratorium. What does that mean? It means we have 4 years to make sure we get the next moratorium, which would then be 5 years. We can't really rest on our laurels, because then we'll just be back where we started and subject to developers who come in and bypass our local zoning laws. So we need to plan well, and we're going to probably do best by investing in advisors who help us do that. Including there's certain ways to do tax structuring. We have employed some tax structuring experts for a couple of projects. They haven't really come to fruition, but we're going to have to make an extra attempt in the coming years in order to try to get commercial and residential opportunities in the right places in town that that fit in with neighborhoods and are net adds, as opposed to eyesores and create huge traffic or other infrastructure problems. We need to incorporate parking and traffic in our planning for development going forward, and they've almost been sort of a secondary thought for some of these. By definition, 8-30G, there's very few things you can do to avoid, to sort of turn down an 8-30G project. But now we're in a position where we can plan, and parking and traffic are 2 areas that should be incorporated into our current planning for the to get the next moratorium. And investment in first-rate legal advice. I can't really overstate this. We made an investment in hiring Cohen and Wolf. Phil Pierce, partner principal Cohen and Wolf, but they've been invaluable on the big issues and the small issues. The big issues like United Illuminating Monopoles and Aquarian Water is the next one. The fill pile issues. They've been invaluable, but for charter revision as well, a lot of expertise that has been very helpful for the commission, and also for RTM ordinances. This RTM has been very, very active, and having a first-rate legal firm in place to provide the advice that you need is important. We plan to continue to use them for that. So looking at the budget, it's pretty straightforward in terms of the increase. Most of it is coming from the Board of Ed, but the increase itself on the expense side is really not unusual in light of history. 3.8% expense increase is very much in line with past increases. I'm sure we're going to get into the details on this, so I won't get into what's increasing. We know the Board of Ed is increasing a fair amount, but other than that, we're going to go through those line items line by line and talk about them in detail. But I do think what we've done here in some areas are worth a quick mention. Going out to bid on healthcare and saving approximately $1.4 million allowed us to put money back in, or allowed the Board of Finance to put money back into the Board of Education, which I think was the right thing to do, and I'm very happy they did that. We've went out and really turned over every rock to try to find the funds to be able to help out the Board of Ed. It's the right thing to do. Going forward, we have a lot of opportunity this year to increase revenue. Now, I didn't talk about what Anthony Calabrese's new job is, but Anthony, as we all know, is incredibly talented at programming, creating programming, and now he's in charge of Human Services and Parks and Recreation. And with the senior center, he will have an opportunity to increase programming there, not just for seniors, but for people of all ages. During the course of the coming year, we're going to be taking a look at the Turner Army site. We are nearing the completion of the environmental issues that we've had there, of getting those, making sure that we can move forward with taking over that site. That's 20,000 square feet, and I'm going to be working with Anthony on looking at that site for opportunities, for the town. Obviously, this will be a very transparent public process. It could be a perfect site for a community center, or there might be other uses for it. But I'll be definitely pulling in Anthony into those conversations. In the coming year, Anthony is going to be helping, advising on the build out of the former Pilot House site. This month, that site will open up, and we are going to build out, or Anthony is running the build out of a new playground, but also ultimately a field that will be accessible to people with intellectual and physical disabilities. That building will become a site for adaptive recreation, as well as other services for people with intellectual and physical disabilities. So those are the highlights. I would say one other thing would be a real desire to build out our youth services, bringing together various components from the schools, Parks and Rec. We have a juvenile review board. We've got Fairfield Cares, and under Anthony, we're going to be pulling some of that together under the umbrella of youth services, and that's very exciting. So there we go. We can probably just move into, sorry, that was longer than.
No, thank you. I think if no one's objects to this, we'll move on to our non-for-profits here and let them speak, because First Selectman Gerber will be here long-term and have many opportunities to answer questions along the way. So I'm going to move to the non-for-profits. First, we have all the non-for-profits can be found on page 73 in our budget book. And we're going to start with item 2370, which is the Sullivan McKinney Elder Housing. We have Ruth Ann Greco, the property manager. I think, is she online? She's online via Zoom. If you want to unmute yourself, Bill, yeah.
Hi, good evening.
Welcome. Thank you for coming. If you just want to give us like a little 1 to 2 minute rundown of your not-for-profit and its benefits to the town of Fairfield, that would be wonderful. Thank you.
We're a co-tenant at 224 Meadowbrook Road in the town's building. I believe it used to be the old Grassmere School. First Selectman was just talking about the playground over there. It's in that area. We are senior housing. We have 40 units, senior and disabled housing. We're funded by the federal HUD. We try to do ADA upgrades whenever we can, because we're dealing with seniors and people with disabilities. This year we asked for $6,500. The elevator, which is original to the rehab from, I believe it was 1988 or 1989. Some repairs are being needed, a twin post pack jack too, and also an oil change. So to keep the elevator going, we're trying to do some repairs there to keep the life of it going for our seniors. We're looking at repairs, probably $12,000. So we are coming to the town with the budget to ask for the $6,500 to help with those elevator repairs for our seniors and our disabled residents in the building. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions from members regarding this item? Representative Zezima.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Liz Esma, District 4. This will be asked a lot tonight. What are your concerns about the loss of federal funds?
I really don't have any concerns now, as my HUD is very, willing to give us updates daily. I don't think that the subsidy of our residents at 70% will be affected. I'm not sure about that, but I don't see that happening. My personal opinion, the residents pay 30% of their annual adjusted income, and HUD subsidizes 70% of that. I don't know what, if anything, where, our residents would do without that 70%. So, our management company and HUD and our, Navigate Affordable Housing Partners, send out a Tuesday tip every Tuesday, and they try to keep us in the loop the best, they can with any changes with the federal government. So we're on top of that weekly.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions from the members? If you're online and you're an RTM member, if you put your full name in the chat, looking to be recognized, I will recognize you, and FairTV can unmute you. Seeing none, thank you so much. We appreciate you coming, and we appreciate what you do for the town.
Have a good evening.
Thank you. We're going to move on to Catalyst Connecticut 2073, formerly RIASAP. Mark Donald, President and CEO, is here in front of us. Welcome. If you just want to give us a little 1 to 2 minute update on your not-for-profit, that would be wonderful.
Sure. Mark Donald, President CEO of Catalyst Connecticut, Catalyst CT, formerly known as RIASAP. As a town resident, I can say you're getting a hell of a deal. As a CEO, I say it with a lot less enthusiasm. Catalyst CT, primarily in support of Fairfield Cares, as local prevention council, supports their work in spreading, particularly in regards to prevention, cannabis, suicide prevention, opioids, overall behavioral health. Additionally, we're currently training all Fairfield Public Schools staff in restorative practices, and have provided some in-kind support for the Juvenile Review Board. All in all, we're a multi-service agency, primarily working with those most struggling in the situation we are. That's at hand, as we know, teen mental health is unfortunately getting worse. And we, as a capacity builder, and a support and an advisor, take a lot of pride in supporting the great work that Fairfield Cares does.
Are there any questions regarding this not-for-profit? Representative Havey.
Hi there, Representative Havey, District 9. When was the last survey done?
We don't administer the surveys, Fairfield Cares does, and I believe that'll be going out in the next couple of weeks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I just want to comment, all the nonprofits are on page 73. It's very short. Representative McCloat.
Megan McCloud, District 2. Thanks for being here. A couple of questions I'll put in one. Do you have any clinical staff on your staff? Number one. Number two, do they have relationships with referrals to the regional hospitals? And number three,
I'm just going to stop you at 2 questions, and then we'll move on to other people, and we can move back to you.
I think they can be answered in the same sentence. That's why I was going to put it together, but.
So the program's led by a master's clinical social worker. We have, I believe, 1 or 2 other social workers on staff. The other are trained public health professionals. We don't do any direct referrals. Our role is as the Regional Behavioral Health Action Organization, RBHAO for short, is to provide capacity building and support for town agencies, including Narcan distribution and training, opioid prevention, cannabis prevention, suicide prevention.
Did you get your 2 questions answered? I'm going to move on to another representative if there's any other questions, and if not, I'll move back to you. Any other representatives with questions? Okay, you're back on deck. Thank you.
Lastly, do you partner for the Narcan training? I'm familiar with that. Do you partner with our local police department, especially since they have an on-duty social worker now? How has that worked?
So typically the police will reach out to us and we can train any organization, group of folks. They can attend our online trainings as they choose. But we actually provide the Narcan to police, fire. And you get Narcan when you get the training done as well. And then a great anecdote, I was talking to a local firefighter and I asked him about us doing the training and the distribution. And he said so many people are getting trained that they actually have to do the reviving less. Obviously, we want to get that number to 0, but I thought that was an important story to share.
Thank you. Thanks for the work you do.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you for coming out tonight. We appreciate it. Moving on, item 2150, LifeBridge, which is formerly Fairfield Counseling Services. Edith Boyle, President and CEO, is here via.
Hi, good evening.
Welcome.
Thank you. Apologies, I got a new laptop and I can't get the camera to turn on, so I'm not sure what's happening. So thank you for your patience. LifeBridge has been in the Fairfield community and supporting the Fairfield community for several years since we did the merger with Fairfield Counseling Services. We provide outpatient mental health services, which on the continuum of care would be where folks would go after they have been stabilized from a crisis or have left some type of inpatient if they're there. We're also available to children and adults, so we serve 6 and up. Not only do we provide talk therapy, but we also provide medication management, which means we have a advanced practice registered nurse available to prescribe medications. We have, I believe right now, 2.5 clinicians at our site at 125 Penfield. We're located there behind the Old Town Hall. And we have capacity to see more. Roughly 73%, almost 74% of the clients we serve are low income, are Medicaid clients. And then the rest are Fairfield residents that either have private insurance or pay out of pocket. We have fantastic clinicians. We get comments all the time from clients and community members about the support that they're receiving there. And we couldn't provide that support without the help of the town of Fairfield. We're actually going to be hosting a parent or community webinar later this week so that we can share information about how to access our services and what that process looks like. So we recognize that that's really important, that the community know we're there and that we have capacity to provide services.
Thank you so much. Representative Galdenzi.
Hello, Lori Galdenzi, District 7. Thank you so much for all that your agency does. I was just wondering, do you have walk-in psychiatric services in Fairfield or only in Bridgeport?
So we haven't had technically quote unquote walk-in services even in Bridgeport. But what we do make every effort to do is if somebody does walk in, it's not uncommon for clients to miss an appointment. So unkept appointments, they don't show for some reason. We try everything we can to get the person in. Sometimes they may need to wait 30 minutes to see if the next client shows. So we do make room for walk-ins in that way. We just don't have standard walk-in hours. We did expand our hours of operation in Fairfield 2 nights a week. So we're open till 6 o'clock on Mondays and Wednesdays, just recognizing that there are families, kids are in activities or parents are working until 5 or individuals are working till 5. So in that way, we try to expand access as well.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Representative Zezima.
Thank you, Liz Esma, District 4. Hi, Edith. Is it still running about 65% of your clientele are residents of Fairfield?
I actually just provided this information. 1 second, and I'll pull it up. I believe I pulled it up for selectmen. I should have had the number available. It's a little bit higher because we also have Fairfield residents that come to our Bridgeport office, either because there's a specific clinician there that they want to see, or just preference, right? They want to come to the Bridgeport office. So um, yeah, I can search for the email that I sent because that question was asked of me in the past, but I know that it is at least 65%.
Great, thank you very much.
I also try to point out that those who aren't Fairfield residents that are accessing services are oftentimes working in Fairfield. So they may not live in Fairfield, but they're working in Fairfield, which is why access at that site works so well, because they can come on their lunch hour or immediately after work, if that's helpful to know.
Thank you, Representative McClure.
Megan McCloud, District 2, thank you for being here tonight. You mentioned that you have an APRN that does your medication assistance MAT program. Is that full-time in Fairfield at the Penfield location, or is that at the Bridgeport location?
So the APRN, we actually have more than one. We have 3, but the specific APRN splits her time. There's specific days that she is in Fairfield. And she's also available though for patients, for clients to contact regardless of the day that she is there, because she has a medical assistant that is able to answer questions, call in refills, that kind of thing. And I do want to clarify, we don't provide medication assisted treatment, the traditional MAT treatment for, say, opioid use disorder. We don't prescribe controlled substances like Suboxone or anything like that, but other psychiatric meds for depression, anxiety, and those types of conditions, we do prescribe.
Wonderful. Thank you for clarifying that.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Oh, Representative Pistilli.
Thank you, Sharon Pistilli, District 5. So given the demand for mental health services, which has been, steadily increasing for as long as I can remember, do you feel that you have the ability to expand capacity, like based on your patient load? Like can you take on more than what you have now?
Yes, absolutely. We're actually hiring, within healthcare, it's all about the supply and demand, right? So as we start to get more calls and the demand rises, we have capacity to hire additional clinicians. In fact, in Fairfield, I believe we have 4 spots that we can fill as the demand increases. And we're ready, just waiting for the calls, and we've been doing outreach to the schools and other avenues as well.
So that means you're at about 60% capacity because you have 2.5 full-time now, right?
Right.
Okay,
Quick
thanks.
math, but yes, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you so much for coming out. We appreciate it, and we appreciate what you do for the town.
Thank you.
Moving on to 2170 Discovery Museum, Erica Ng, the Executive Director, and Sarah Trope Pacelli, Director of Development and Data Management, are here in front of us. Welcome. You have
Thank
to
you
hold.
very much. Got it. So the Discovery Museum is everybody familiar with the Discovery Museum? How many of you have been to the Discovery Museum? Yeah.
Just speak a little closer to the microphone.
Sorry, I'm not very loud. Is that better? Short too. So it's a beloved local friendly institution. Luckily for us, in the recent post-COVID iteration, we really have made it. Is that better? I'm sorry. We really have made it our business to align with the local school districts and to ensure that everything we're doing in our facility is aligned with the NGSS, which is the Next Generation Science Standard Common Core Curriculum. So that makes it easy for families from anywhere traveling through, coming to the museum to interact with our exhibits, and the kids, it will be familiar to them because it's aligned with stuff that they've learned throughout school. Now, since COVID and since we were able to reopen, it's completely different. If you haven't been there recently, I highly recommend you come by. But with the addition of all kinds of interactivity and technology that we've skinned over almost everything that we do, we're able to pivot and continue to support that. Seeing as everybody is pretty familiar with the science center, right? We're a science center. So I don't have to tell you, we've been here since 1958, and we've been an institution, and we've been one thing and another thing. But what we're trying to do is to ensure that the local school districts are remaining on the cutting edge, because Connecticut, Fairfield County with particularly, has our school districts are absolutely incredible, and we're doing everything we can to keep that on the forefront. This would be the 5th year in a row that we will have received.
We've been doing this for over a decade, but at this rate, it's been. So this particular program that we've asked for funding for is to bring Fairfield students specifically to field trip programming at the Science Center. We've been doing this partnership now for over a decade, and we've seen increases over the last couple of years just purely based on the demand from the schools.
So what this allows us to do, and in working closely with the district and Justine LaSala, we've been able to hone in specifically on where the supports are needed, how we can better benefit and expand what's already happening within this school district. And we're offering at 120%. So it's a 20% discount, because this is essentially a prepay for all of those field trips that are going to give access to these cutting edge things. We are trying to move as quickly as we can with things like AI and things that are learning, right? Things that are continually moving along and learning. We're pivoting to a basis for all of that block coding so that we're able to make it it's just going to be second nature to the kids. And so that's what we're foundationally doing. And across the board, with the uptick of advanced manufacturing, especially in this region, this is exactly what we need to be doing. And this is exactly what's going to keep Fairfield there. So I think that's mainly, I'll head a couple of things off at the pass. We have less than 2% in federal funding for this year. And that is because with ARPA winding down and some of the other grants that we had winding down, we didn't really have an opportunity to apply for something new. So that wound up being in our favor, because we have lost our NASA funding. The amount is, $50,000 out of a over $2 million budget. So we're doing pretty well there. Our state funding is in peril, as everyone has seen on the line items. But we are hopefully moving towards working with more municipalities in the way that we've been working with the town of Fairfield in order to underwrite this very important subsidy for the educational process in our local school districts.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Representative McCabe.
Good evening, Michelle McCabe, District 4. Thank you for coming. Kids loved camp at the Discovery Museum. Thank you for starting to dig in a little bit to your budget percentages. I would love, if you don't mind, like very high level, if you could just break down for us, including, I imagine, Sacred Heart's contribution, like how your budget percentage-wise breaks down. Thank you.
Absolutely. Sarah, you can go through a couple of the things, but what I'll say is, first of all, over 15% of all field trips booked at Discovery are Fairfield. And those are not, that's not just limited to the grant. When that grant runs out, these schools are still booking, and we're still offering the same discount because we know it's going above and beyond, and now it's on the shoulders of the PTA. I can tell you that over 23% of all services are specifically to Fairfield. That doesn't necessarily include the person coming in off of the street, but it does include our membership, our summer camps, our drop-off programs, et cetera, as well as our after-school programs. Sarah?
To speak to the Sacred Heart piece just a little bit, the financial support that they provide for us is about $100,000 annually, and that is a match for our major donor for the planetarium. The rest of their support is in-kind support. So that comes in the form of, they provide us with a janitor, so we don't need to pay a custodian to be on our staff. Instead, we hired another educator. They pay for things like our landscaping and our plowing. They cover a lot of our telecommunications infrastructure. So what that means is that every dollar that comes to Discovery
87 cents per dollar goes directly to mission-based programming. That includes things like these field trips. As far as the other budget categories, we have, fluctuations from year to year, but generally we're looking at about 70% support, 30% revenue. And overall, Sacred Heart is a small piece of that support line.
Thank you. I'm sorry, if you don't mind, just getting a little bit more in the weeds on the revenue. Can you just like you said, that 30% is like ticket sales and stuff like that, I'm assuming, and then 70% is from other sources. Can you just, this percent is state, this percent is municipal, this percent is.
Absolutely. Yep. So I don't know if I have percentages off the top of my head, but I can tell you about $200,000 comes from the state annually, and that's what's being cut right now. It's up to about 17% that they're talking about cultural and science institutions across the country. We have as far as that money that's coming in through the door, that's a combination of field trips, paid admissions, and some events that we have. It does not include fundraisers. Is that right? So because that goes into the other bucket. So we have a lot of those kinds of things that happen after hours. So all those little things, we have our one big gala, but then we have a lot of little things that happen, and they all kind of count towards our fundraising as well at the end of the year. So mostly it's naming rights, smaller foundations, and local donors.
Thank you. Any other questions? Representative McClough.
Megan McClough, District 2. How are you? Good to see you. Quick question. You mentioned other municipality supports. Can you give us a list of the other municipalities that support and what percent their usage may be in comparison to Fairfield?
So we don't have another thing like this with Fairfield. I mean, with other municipalities, we're trying to show other municipalities now that we have really good data from this program that we've been running for a few years. We are starting at 2021 is when we started, is the data that I'm working with. And so that, I'm not sure what the breakdown is.
So I'm not sure about percent, but what I can tell you is that the municipalities that are currently listed in the budget that you may have seen, that includes funding from the Trumbull District for Challenger missions for their 5th grade. We also have, which is not listed here because it happened after the point of our application, about just shy of $10,000 that's coming from the city of Bridgeport for after-school programming that we're doing with some of their schools.
And as the bulk of our programming comes from Bridgeport, is largely underwritten by grants either on their side or on ours. We also have we have started to replicate some of those things. We have free Bridgeport Wednesdays. Edgewell has recently, for example, come in, and now they're supporting free Shelton Sundays at once a month. So we have other folks that are seeing sort of the new landscape and wondering how they can get more kids to the museum. That's how. This is how.
Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Ludwig-Sack.
Christine Ludwig-Sack, District 8. It sounds like you have wonderful opportunities available, specifically to the children. Wondering if you have any opportunities or discount programs for the seniors in Fairfield or other surrounding communities?
Yes, so we just have a whole new program opening up through our community science department that will be specifically for seniors, and specifically in those afternoon hours when our children have already gone back because they have to catch the bus. We have this lovely little late afternoon lull that would offer a safe space for seniors to move throughout the building and free up the elevators, et cetera, and really allow us to do some dedicated programming talking about, they really want to know about robotics and AI. So we've been taking the feedback, and we kind of start at Buck Rogers and we move on into the craziness that's today, and they kind of come out of it really mind blown. But we're specifically told that it makes for some really interesting evening conversations back at the ranch. If I could be a fly.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions regarding this item? Thank you so much. We appreciate you coming out, and we appreciate what the Discovery Museum does for us. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for putting us on tonight's agenda.
Thank you. Moving on to Connecticut Audubon, we have Amy Barno, Director, Fairfield Region, and I'm not sure, I think Tricia Cavalis is also, is she? Nope, okay. Welcome. You got to hold the button on the bottom of the speaker and make sure the microphone's close enough to you.
This button right
Yes,
there?
perfect.
Got it.
All right, good evening, everybody. Thank you for including all of us on your agenda tonight. My name is Amy Barno. I'm the director of the Fairfield region for the Connecticut Audubon Society. We are in our 127th year of operation, one of the oldest conservation organizations in the country, and certainly the oldest conservation here in the state of Connecticut. We operate 6 regions across the state, and the Fairfield region is really where our roots are, as we were founded right here in Fairfield, our Birdcraft Museum and Sanctuary, which is on Umpqua Road. That opened back in 1914. And here in the Fairfield region, we encompass both facilities, the Birdcraft Museum and Sanctuary on Umpqua Road, and then the Fairfield Nature Center up on Burr Street. The Fairfield Nature Center is really currently, or has been, the hub of our programming. We have well over 10,000 people that come every year. We have all of the programming we offer for the 3rd grade, thanks to the grant money that we do get from the town of Fairfield. All Fairfield public school 3rd graders come to the Connecticut Audubon Society, the Burr Center, for the same, as they just mentioned, the NGSS, the science curriculum. Ours, of course, is using Nature's Classroom, so these kids are getting outside. They're looking at soil, they're studying water, they're studying air. So obviously in line with what they're looking at at a 3rd grade level, and obviously it is adapted for when we get older kids there. So this is their introduction to get outside and be in nature, which is so incredibly important, and getting increasingly so as kids are spending less and less time outdoors. Our mission really as an organization is simple. We're here to protect Connecticut's birds, other wildlife, and their habitats. And we do that through conservation, education, and advocacy. So we are working on things like the Lights Out initiative to protect our migratory birds, which are happening right now. We're an incredibly powerful place here in Connecticut as part of the Atlantic Flyway. We have millions of birds that fly over Connecticut, both in the spring and the fall as part of their migration. So we need lights out at night. And we're also working on legislation to ban rodenticides, chemicals that are devastating our birds of prey population. As many of you may know, we have the Birds of Prey compound, which is our ambassador birds up the Burr Street Nature Center. We are just completing a major renovation of that, thanks in large part to a very nice grant from the town of Fairfield. And we will have a ribbon cutting for that probably end of May, early of June. I hope all of you will attend that. We'll make sure invitations go out. It is beautiful. And one of the sort of really cool marquee pieces of that is that the what was just a pathway on the grass in the 40 years of that existence is now a fully accessible, wheelchair accessible walkway, a raised boardwalk that goes through the Birds of Prey compound. So it allows us to really, we have a lot of visitation from local organizations that have children and adults with physical disabilities, and they can now come and get through the Birds of Prey compound and experience that in a really cool way that simply could not happen. And we also, in line with that, have the 1 mile Chibucas Trail through our sanctuary, which is also wheelchair accessible and great for strollers and everything else. So we are really looking to continue to provide education for people of all ages. I'm a big fan of never not being curious, right? So I love people of all ages coming and being curious and having an experience with nature. And so we try to provide programming, workshops, lectures, bird walks, all sorts of things for everybody that's interested. And most of that is free. We are open 365 days a year on the sanctuary. And it's obviously a well-loved and really deeply valued place for many, many people every year. So thanks to the town for tremendous support over a long time that keeps our kids there and keeps a lot of people coming to valued programs. So thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other any questions regarding this? Seeing none, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having us. And I'll make sure you all get the info I see a lot of nodding heads. So come see Millie and Ruby and all of our feathered friends. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to item 2230, Greater Bridgeport Transit. We have CEO Stephen DeMichelle and CFO Adrian Bellinger here. Welcome.
Good evening. Are we okay? Great. GBT is here this evening to request continuation of the $30,000 investment in support of GBT services in the town, which provides essential service and access to jobs, medical appointments, education, and other important destinations. And it directly benefits Fairfield residents and employers. GBT is dependent on local funding to support our operations. In fiscal year 24, it covered about 21% of our operations. And this is especially true starting in 2022 with the passage of Public Act 2240 when transit districts were flat funded. So GBT operates a menu of services in the communities we serve. Most prominently is our fixed route service, 16 routes across 10 municipalities. Here in Southwest Connecticut, and specifically in Fairfield, we operate the Coastal Link, the Route 7 and the Route 10, with 84 stops along the Post Road, Tungus Hill, Cutoff, Kings Highway, and Black Rock Turnpike. We directly service both train stations in the town, as well as provide connections to the Port Jefferson Ferry and Amtrak at our intermodal center. And fiscal year 24, we had about 4.6 million boardings. 138,000 of those boardings and alightings occurred here in Fairfield. As a complement to our fixed route system, we also have a service called GBT Access, and this is a door-to-door service for riders with disabilities. It operates across the same or along the same 16 routes in the communities we serve. We had about 83,000 trips performed on that service. About 22% of those, 19,000 or so, began or ended in the town of Fairfield. And the trip purpose for those trips is largely the same as that of the fixed route service: medical, jobs, access to education, shopping. We also operate a service that is specific to Fairfield. It's a demand response service, and it's funded through the state's municipal grant program. And it's exclusive to Fairfield residents, and it's for Fairfield seniors. And we operate this in coordination with the Senior Center, who determine rider eligibility and direct the trips themselves. And this service really extends the capacity of the Senior Center to provide services both within the community of Fairfield and beyond. In the last fiscal year, we performed close to 1,000 trips on that service. And on an annual basis, GBT will advocate for that funding and apply on the town's behalf. And that cycle actually just began for fiscal year 2026. We also, in the fall, did some travel training with a number of seniors on GBT's fixed route service, specifically on the Coastal Link. GBT is also a direct recipient for federal funding, and one of the federal programs we have underway is our Transit Amenity Program. And since 2019, we've installed 4 new shelters in the town of Fairfield, specifically with connections to pedestrian infrastructure. We're currently working with the town or discussing with the town an additional 6 locations in the town. That represents an investment of about $87,000 in state and federal funding. So, we really are very appreciative of the town's investment in the services. We do rely on that investment to provide the services. Fairfield residents do benefit, and that contribution goes directly into the provision of our services. So we hope that you'll consider receive GBT as a value to the town, and we'll consider our request as you develop your budget.
Thank you so much. Representative Galdenzi.
Hi, Lori Galdenzi, District 7. I wanted to ask you, GBT also brings Fairfield seniors to Park Ave, correct, at the Jewish home or the Jewish services where there's daycare options for them? Are you still doing that?
Well, we definitely service that that complex. I think it's the Mosaic Senior Center you're referring to.
Yeah, I think it used to be the Jewish home. Yeah.
Right. Yes, we service that with fixed route GBT access, and
You get Fairfield residents and bring them there too, or at least you did.
Well, I can't.
I think that's up next. Mosaic, which is formerly that, they're up next on our list. So you maybe we can get the answers from that.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I thought it was GBT that brought them. That's why I was asking.
All right, so we provide, you can travel from Fairfield to that complex. How many Fairfield residents specifically, I can't speak to that off the top of my head, but I could find out for you.
Yeah. Representative Georgiadis.
Drew Georgiadis, District 9. Thank you for coming. I'm glad to hear that you're spending, you're addressing the lack of benches, lack of shelters. You know, it's tough to drive down the post road and see these tired, overworked, minimum wage workers standing there. What kind of priority is that for you? I say you said you've installed some and sounds like there are a lot more. So what is a priority in your budget?
Sure. So the program, the GBT's Transit Amenity Program is the existing program as it sits today began in 2014. It's a program that's funded 80% by the federal government. It's matched locally by the state of Connecticut, 20% funding. We've installed about 50 shelters in our service area across all of our service area. The program relies on advertising revenue for maintenance. We have probably another 30 or 40 requests for shelters throughout the service area, a number of which are in the town of Fairfield. We're also a pilot participant in advising the Connecticut Department of Transportation on their statewide bus stop enhancement program, and they're looking to roll out about 700 shelters across the state.
So does the shelter, does it have to be complete? Can you just put a bench in, or does it have to be the entire shelter?
We predominantly installed shelters, but we could certainly install benches.
Could be a short-term fix. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions regarding this item? Representative Ludwigsack.
Christine Ludwigsack, District 8. I'm not positive this is you, but in Norwalk, they have a kind of like a pilot program, the micro transit. Is that something that Greater Bridgeport Chancellor is involved with, and could it come to Fairfield, that kind of more of an on-demand ride service?
Sure. Yeah, so there are actually, I believe it's 14 pilot programs across the state. Familiar with Norwalk's program, and GBT does have a program. It's called GBT Connect. Right now, it's operating in the town of Trumbull. So we did a mobility gap analysis in 2020 and 2021, and identified a number of areas in our service area where there are gaps in service, either time or geography. And so the town of Fairfield was identified, the town of Trumbull was identified as a pilot location. We are hopeful to demonstrate to the state the success of that program and the viability of it, and to potentially roll it out into other areas of the service, one of them being along the post road in Fairfield.
So just to clarify, in a few years down the line, or something that is just going to be reviewed after the pilot program's completed, or?
So right now, it's a pilot program. I can't speak to the continuation with any kind of certainty of the continuation of that funding or the availability of additional funding for other pilots, but it is, we have recognized that there is a need in other parts of our service area, and we're definitely, if funding is made available, could roll that out. Yeah.
Thank you. Representative McCabe.
Michelle McCabe, District 4. Good evening. 2 quick questions. First, is the data that you collected on that gap analysis available anywhere when you were reviewing where a micromobility project could take place? And this might be connected to that question. Do you feel that there is demand that currently with your budget you are unable to support, but if you could, you would?
So the mobility gap analysis study document, we have that. Could share that with you if you'd like. In terms of funding, so we're always looking to do the most good and serve the most number of people we can, and with the funding we have available to us. There is a need for additional services, which we certainly could use additional funding for. We're actually we're looking at we're studying actually the town of Fairfield, to look at some of the travel patterns in the town. We've talked to the planning department and the economic development department, or selectman's office, and we're continuing to evaluate potential service enhancements in the community.
Thank you. If you do get that and you would like to forward it to me, you could just on our website, or you could just forward it to the town clerk too, if you have whomever emailed you, I believe. But my name's on the website if you look at our town, the moderator. Thank you.
Excellent.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you so much for coming out. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you for having us.
Next up, we got Mosaic Senior Life, formerly Grassmere on Park. It looks like you made it in person. David Magner, Adult Day Program Supervisor. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm a little bit loud, so let me know. I also have Laura Snow Robinson, who's online as well. My name is David Magner. Thank you so much for you guys to have us here today. We're part of Mosaic Senior Life, formerly known as Jewish Senior Services. And we're actually here to talk about, yes, the Adult Day Service. We're a medical model program that's uniquely served the Fairfield area for about 40 years. We provide nursing services, care management, therapeutic recreation, socialization, and interactive programs for seniors. Our average age is around 80 years old. Members can attend 2 to 5 days a week from 8 to 4:30. However, we've seen an increase in early onset dementia. So some of our members now are around 53 and 54 coming in. 90% of the population we serve has Alzheimer's, and many of them also as well have some type of physical disability. What we love about this program so much is it's been such a huge asset to so many caregivers and care partners in our community. Without this program, we have been told by many different individuals over the years that mom, dad, or a loved one would probably have to be placed. It's a very cost-effective program. We also offer scholarships for anybody who comes to the program and needs financial needs. And one of the great things about our Adult Day program is that we recently launched in 2019 our early memory loss program called the Memory Workshop. It's unique in the fact that we serve individuals who may not have necessarily a diagnosis, but may also be concerned about memory. So it's a 4-day-a-week program from 10 to 3, and we provide health, education, and awareness when it comes to memory loss, also mild cognitive impairment and early onset dementia. We currently, on average, serve about 100 individuals a year. And over the 5 last years, we've served about 34 residents from Fairfield alone. One of our biggest referrals and increases actually came from Fairfield after COVID, especially in 21 and 22. So we have a great rapport and relationship with the Senior Center and many of the social workers there, including a partnership with Julie DeMarco, refers their members to our program. To answer your question beforehand, yes, GBT Services does provide a certain amount of transportation to Fairfield. However, I will be honest, there's a lot of what I call the in-between slots. So if they're not within a certain mileage of a bus stop, they do not get provided transportation. So currently we have in-house transportation. We have 2 drivers. We're looking to expand even more to provide transportation for individuals that without that, they wouldn't be able to come to the Adult Day program. So on average, if we look week to week, we serve about 40% of our individuals who take our transportation are from Fairfield alone. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments regarding this? Or questions, sorry. Representative Ludwig.
Christine Ludwig, District 8. I think I've heard a little bit about a program you guys offer, maybe Better Together, like an intergenerational component where children work with the seniors.
The Adult Day program doesn't do that specifically. However, we do have childcare on site, so we do intergenerational programming on average once every quarter. We've also partnered with Notre Dame Catholic High School, so they come in every other quarter as well to do whether it's music or other types of arts and crafts with our members as well.
Thank you, Perfect. I was just wondering if there are more opportunities for Fairfield students or that mutual beneficial relationship with the different generations.
Great question. Yes, and I think we're looking to expand because one of the biggest problems we've had as an organization post-COVID is getting volunteers and getting people that actually want to come in and work with the seniors. So yes, we're looking to expand our intergenerational programming as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you so much. We appreciate everything you do. Thank you. Moving on to 2430, the Kennedy Collective, formerly the Kennedy Center. Nancy Hawes, Chief Development Officer, is attending via Zoom. Welcome if you're unmuted. Okay, thank you. We'll move on to Mill River Wetland Committee. Jonathan Dilly, President. I see you online. If they just unmute you. Yeah, once FairTV unmutes you. Mr. Dilly, there you go. Welcome.
Thank you. I was feeling a little helpless there for a minute, so thank you. I appreciate everybody for putting us on the agenda. I'm the president of the Mill River Wetland Committee. My name is John Dilly. Um, I represent an organization that is an environmental education organization that's been in town for over 50 years. It was founded in 1967. Our founder, Joy Shaw, still lives here in town over near Perry's Mill Pond. We're focused on education, but we do other things as well. We do advocacy, we do other levels of educational support, local events, and we do some level of engagement with the community around things like Earth Day or with the universities. We currently have educational programs that we partner with through the Fairfield Board of Ed for the second, fourth, and fifth and seventh grade of every single school in Fairfield. We educate over 3,300 students every year. Um, we have built our programming, as I heard from Audubon, with the next generation scientific standards, and we've molded them into the curriculum of the local schools. We utilize the open spaces. We work very closely with the conservation director, Tim Bishop, to make sure those spaces are well kept and prepared. And we've also partnered with the conservation director on the acquisition and the ongoing remediation of the New Sturgis property for environmental center. So we're working very closely with the town to not only kind of build out Fairfield as a environmental hub, which this was the first town to have a conservation department in the state of Connecticut, but also educate the future environmental leaders. We also run 2 fundraisers every year to provide $1,000 scholarship to each a senior at Andrew Ward, as well as Fairfield Ludlow High School, who are going to pursue an environmentally related degree in college. We've also weighed in on some of the local TPZ projects or applications. And as I mentioned, we handle local events, whether they be cleanups or Earth Day at the YMCA and other types of events. Our program is not break even. It's not a massive budget, but we've relied on volunteers for 50 years. Many of you have probably either volunteered or had a child go through the program. We've actually started to have people at some of these events who've been through the program themselves. And post-COVID, it was getting worse during ahead of COVID, but post-COVID, as you heard the last speaker talk about, getting volunteers has become increasingly more difficult. As a result, our costs, even though we provide a very small stipend of about $40 to someone come out and help learn all the material and lead a trip, has become a cost basis for us. On top of that, the inflationary impact of the materials we use, whether they be supplies or equipment to repair them or replace them, has gotten more expensive in the last year. For years, we've only requested around between $5,000 and $6,000. This year, we went up to $7,500 because we did have to replace some equipment and also order more supplies. Every single nickel goes back into supporting the Fairfield Public Schools. And we are looking at ways to reduce our overall cost. We are in the process of eliminating our gear manager position and buying gear boxes and placing them with the support of the conservation department at the open spaces so we can store our things there, which will reduce the cost of the storage we pay in Bridgeport to hold our materials as well as transport them across town. Obviously, we're working around Sturgis and try and use that also since it abuts the Perry's Mills open space to try and store some of our equipment there. So we're looking for ways to reduce our costs to get to a break-even point. This is not a for-profit enterprise, but we wanted to come here and talk to you today about the impact we think we're having. We continue to see students that have gone through the Fairfield Public Schools, who have gone through River Lab, are now coming back and volunteering. We have now, last year we had 6 returning college students who came back and worked in our programs, volunteering and trip leading. This year we have a handful coming back for a second or third year, and we've now, continued to expand our relationship with Sacred Heart and Fairfield University. Sacred Heart through the assistance of First Selectman Gerber, and Fairfield University through their new Climate and Resilience Center. So I appreciate the opportunity to tell you a little bit about Mill River Wetland Committee, and I'll answer any questions that the RTM may have.
Thank you. Are there any questions regarding the Mill River Wetland Committee? It looks like you did a great job of answering them. Thank you. We appreciate you being here and for what you guys do. Thank you.
Well, thank you for your ongoing support. We appreciate it.
Moving on to the Pilot House, Director Doreen Caruso, I believe, is on via Zoom. I don't see her, but I'm going to wait and just in case she's online and someone's trying to unmute her. Okay, she's not online. We're going to move on to the Center for Family Justice. Mark Antony, I'm sorry if I said that wrong, Chief Financial and Administrative Officer is on via Zoom. I believe I saw him online. I'll wait for you to be unmuted. Thank you.
I think I'm unmuted. How's that?
I can hear you nicely. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you very much, and thank you all for having me here tonight to represent the Center for Family Justice. So for those of you that are not familiar with the Center for Family Justice, we're dedicated to serving victims of domestic violence, sexual violence, and child abuse. The Justice Center model is one that we actually brought to Connecticut in January of 2014. There is now a Justice Center in New Haven and New London, and basically what that is bringing all services under one roof, so that a victim has to come in and tell their story one time, because they could talk to our case worker, who could take them, in our building, plan for their safety, work with a police officer, help them work towards self-sufficiency. If they needed to, we do have a safe house in an undisclosed location. The other thing I wanted to say was that we're respectfully requesting $20,000, which is the same that we got last year, and we are very, very appreciative of the funding. We do serve 6 towns. It's kind of our catchment area because there's 18 domestic violence agencies in the state of Connecticut. We serve Fairfield, Bridgeport, Trumbull, Easton, Stratford, and Monroe. And while Bridgeport obviously has the biggest number of our clients, Stratford is second, Fairfield is third. Happy to take any questions that you have, and I thank you all again.
Thank you. Are there any questions regarding this? Representative Zezima.
Liz Esma, District 4. Hi, Mark.
Hi.
So just to give everybody a sense of where you guys stand right now, VOCA funds were cut pretty by a fairly high percentage. What is your shortfall on federal funding right now?
So I'm a nervous wreck. Obviously, I'm the CFO trying to put a budget together that it's kind of a budget of the unknown. For the last 2 years, the state of Connecticut really pitched in because they had ARPA funds. Unfortunately, they don't have those anymore. So we're probably expecting a 30% cut this year. Still waiting to hear. Obviously, the legislature is still working. And it's not just us advocating, obviously. It's the whole, all the 18 agencies. We also have part of our other coalition is the sexual violence, the Connecticut Alliance End Sexual Violence. It's the Connecticut Coalition Against Domestic Violence. And we're also working with the Connecticut Children's Advocacy Group, all working together, trying to keep some of that money in the state line items that they have. Not sure that's going to happen. So right now, I'm working towards a 30% cut, or we're working towards a 30% cut. It's going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you. Any other questions? Representative McClure.
Megan McCloud, District 2. Hi, Mark. Good to see you. Really more of a comment than a question, especially coming off of how Rep. Zesma identified you got a big deficit in funds that are going to make it difficult for you. So you're lucky you have a big fundraiser coming up with Walk a Mile in Her Shoes, which I just want to commend, have done a great job in expanding that community event, especially in Fairfield. Your awareness mission on that has been incredible, and we all know how important that work is. So hopefully that's something we can help you expand by leveraging the argument to
I so appreciate that. I so appreciate that, Representative. Saturday, April 26th, 9 a.m., Fairfield train station. Your former police chief, Gary McNamara, will have his red heels on, and you're all invited to come. So I hope to see you all there.
Thank you. Any other questions regarding this item? None. Thank you so much for coming out. We appreciate it.
Thank you all very much. Appreciate it.
Oh, wait 1 second.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
First Selectman Gerber has a question.
Yes.
No,
Yes.
not for
Oh,
Center
no.
for Family Justice. It's just Doreen Caruso sent an email and said she's on but wasn't unmuted for her
Is
section.
can you First Selectman Gerber, can you send her Ms. Caruso, if you're online, you need to, unfortunately with our Zoom, we've had some problems with security, and so everyone that's speaking needs to, oh, I see, you're under Doreen. Can FairTV unmute Doreen? And we'll go back to Doreen Caruso from the Pilot House, item 2470. I'm just waiting for FairTV to unmute you. I see her. I think she's walking through the house. I think that's her. Oh, there you go. You're unmuted, Miss Caruso. Miss Caruso, I think you're unmuted. It might not be by your computer. But there you are. Hello, welcome. Miss Caruso, we can't hear you. Maybe you're muted on your side somewhere additionally, on your phone or on your computer. Miss Caruso, Miss Caruso, well, now she's muted again. Oh, there, nope. Nope, you're speaking, but we don't hear you, Miss Caruso. I'm sorry. I think we'll move on. Maybe if you could work to see if it's coming from your side somewhere. You're unmuted on our side here, so it might be your computer. I'll move back to you after Operation Hope. We'll move on to Carla Miklos, Executive Director, I believe, is online. I see Miss Miklos. If you could unmute her, FairTV. I need an unmute button next time. I'm waiting on FairTV to unmute Miss Miklos. I think we have someone checking in. No one's in there?
Am I on?
Okay, Miss Miklos, go ahead. You're unmuted.
Good evening, everyone. It's so nice to be with you again. So I'm here tonight to talk about Operation Hope. I know everybody thinks they know a little bit about us, but I'll just quickly run through what we do and then maybe get to some of the other questions. Operation Hope has been serving the community for 40 years, and our main purpose is to end hunger and homelessness. We are doing that through a series of programs focused on hunger, like our food pantry that serves over 800 local households. Most of them come twice a month. We serve almost 200,000 meals a year through our food pantry program. That's for anyone in town who is housed but struggling to make ends meet. All that food is donated by people like yourselves and other organizations, and all the people who work in the food pantry are also volunteers except for the manager. We also have a community kitchen that serves lunch and dinner Monday through Friday to anyone in the community who's hungry. Those meals are prepared by and served by volunteers in the community. We serve approximately 50 people per meal, um, and that equates to 7,000 to 9,000 meals a year. And that's not really counting the fact that on 3 nights a week, we send people home with an extra meal, including over the weekends, and we send them home with bag lunches and other things to help them sustain during the times that we're not open. As far as homeless prevention, we currently run homeless outreach for the town of Fairfield as well as the surrounding communities. And our outreach also includes inreach by using the community kitchen as a way to engage people, and then providing showers, laundry facilities, and an opportunity for people to sit down, take a breather, and start thinking about a life outside of the life they're currently living. On the housing side, we have 84 units of permanent supportive housing that we own or operate. Half of those units are in Fairfield. The others are in Shelton and Bridgeport. We serve both individuals and families in those units, and all of those come with clinical case management. We have 35 staff people. The majority of those people are either master's degree level social workers or paraprofessional human services workers. And we work closely with many of the other organizations at your meeting tonight, as well as the Town Social Services Agency and Department of Economic Development. Our house, in addition to our housing, we also do a series of rapid rehousing programs where we house about another 300 households a year. That's temporary support and temporary case management. Our supportive housing program is a program where people pay 30% of their income for rent, and either we subsidize that or it's subsidized by some kind of funding, either from the state or federal government, which I'll get into in a second. So our reach is pretty big. Most people don't realize how much we actually do. In addition to all of that, we have, when funds are available, we run a variety of homeless prevention programs, including anything from mortgage and rental arrearage to helping people with utility bills or liens on their property or connecting them to other services. So we are, I guess the question on everyone's mind might be, how will we be affected by the current financial climate? 60% of our funding comes directly from federal government, either directly from HUD or through federal resources that go through the state and then are awarded to us through the Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services or the Department of Housing. So at this point in time, we are not aware of how and when or where we may be cut, but we do know that those agencies are experiencing pretty frightening scrutiny. And HUD especially has been told that they will have a 50% cut across the board. And in the continuum of care and block grant area, that could be as high as 85%. So it's unknown at this time. As far as the Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services and the Department of Housing, they too are funded through either HHS or a variety of other organizations. And it's also unknown what the cuts will be. But I would hasten to say that we will experience some pain. The scary thing about that is if you cut our programs that provide the social services, we won't have staff to take care of the people who live in our housing. If you cut the subsidies that help us provide the housing, we won't be able to afford to continue to house people. So then that creates a vicious cycle of people back on the street. They become our clients again, but we have less resources to help them with, and so on and so forth. So, we remain optimistic because we're really good at what we do. We're really creative with our money, but there's really no guarantees. So I'll leave it there, but I'm open to any questions about anything that we are doing or any concerns you may have.
Thank you. Are there any questions regarding Operation Hope? Representative Ludwig-Sack.
Christine Ludwig, District 8. Just curious, approximately, when you mentioned about 60% of your budget is comes from the state of Connecticut, approximately how much is that?
60% of our funding comes from either federal or state sources. And so our budget is, hold on, I have numbers right here. Our budget is just under $4 million, so it's a significant amount of money. I will bring it up in
Thank you. That gives perspective.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments or questions? Thank you very much. We appreciate you coming out and for everything Operation Hope does.
Thank you for having me.
Ms. Caruso, we're going to try to move back to you. I'm hoping that they'll unmute you. I'm not sure if you've figured it out on your end, but I'm waiting for them to unmute you. Hopefully, Doreen.
Is it unmuted?
Oh, perfect.
Oh, thank
you.
goodness. I'm so sorry for all of this evening. I'm sure you'd all like to get home at a reasonable hour, so I apologize.
You haven't stopped us. Thank you so much. Pilot, Ms. Caruso's here. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time this evening and for your patience. The Pilot House has been offering services here in Fairfield for 19 years this year. As you heard from First Selectman Gerber earlier, that Pilot House is transitioning out of our Colony Street location after 17 years. So we're in a transition phase right now. And we have been bringing our farm more up to standards, to providing services in transition for us leaving Colony Street. So at the farm, we offer we currently are working with ages 3 up until seniors. Our passion began firmly with individuals with special needs, but now our program has gone into a broader mission to support anyone who can benefit from healing, the power of animals, nature, and meaningful employment. So that's with our Little Farmers program. And then we're working with seniors with dementia as a pilot program. And then we also have our therapeutic riding program. So in this transition phase that we're making to bringing our farm as our primary source of programming, we will continue doing our therapeutic riding, our grooming program, and our horticultural program, which helps teach young adults how to grow the herbs that we're growing. And then we have a business transaction with a local vendor called Beastie Burgers, who then is in fact purchasing the herbs. So then we're giving them employment. This year, we are going to be expanding our garden to be including a cutting garden, and we'll be having someone come in teaching the young adults how to create flower arrangements. So we will be doing a cutting garden for flowers. So currently with this transition, we are in a transition phase. We are grateful for what the town of Fairfield has afforded us for the last 17 years at our Colony Street location, and we are looking forward to continuing to service our community at the farm and at another location to look into providing and moving forward with a day program for young adults with disabilities. So with that being said, if anybody has any questions.
Thank you so much. Are there any questions regarding the Pilot House? Representative McCloat.
Megan McCloat, District 2. Hi, Doreen.
Hi.
I just want to clarify, you said you're transitioning from the Colony Street location to the farm. Do you anticipate that the majority of the services from Colony Street are going to be provided at the farm, or are those things you're going to have to let go?
What we were doing currently at the Pilot House, we had changed, we had not rebounded fully from COVID. So when COVID hit, we had to, at that point, restructure our business model and what services we were providing. So at that point, we had stopped a lot of what services we were providing at that time to focus in on working with young adults. So that program is now going to be moving from Colony Street. It already was working hand in hand with Colony Street and the farm. So we were using Colony Street basically as a teaching facility to house our animatronic program, our theater interaction, and our building program. So that will now have to be relocated. So that program can continue, which is one of our major benefit factors, which that program then would be building and constructing and acting for our major benefit, which is Harvest Fair After Dark.
So that's moving to the farm, or no, not yet?
It was already at the, it was primarily already at the farm. The event is already at the farm. but most of the building and all of that stuff was happening at Colony Street. So it was working in tandem. So the training and all of the work happened at Pilot House. Then the stuff would then be transported to the farm to then set up for our event.
I see. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you so much, Ms. We appreciate everything they do for our town. Moving on to the Fairfield Museum and Historic Center, Executive Director Michael Gell via Zoom, I believe. I see you. I just need it unmuted. He's under Fairfield Museum for FairTV to unmute him. There you go.
Can you all hear me okay?
We can.
Great, thank you. Well, good evening, everybody, and thanks for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Mike Jaley, and I'm Executive Director at the Fairfield Museum. Fairfield Museum's been a part of the community for 122 years. We last year welcomed more than 32,000 visitors to the community, to the museum, and those visitors generated an estimated $2.6 million in related economic activity for our town. We also are a big provider of humanities education and civic education for Fairfield students. Last year, we saw 4,500 students, about half of those from Fairfield and the rest from around 24 different schools in the Fairfield County area. We also provide programs really for all age groups, from pre-K all the way through our senior citizens community, adult education, lecture series, and a full range of educational opportunities. We also preserve more than 400 years of the community's history. We use that collection to inspire the next generation to be more active participants in their community and to really engage in civic education. We are, in the moment, looking at a wonderful opportunity for the community in 2026. It will be the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. We are representing Fairfield at the Connecticut State Commission on the 250th anniversary, and we're also leading a group of more than 24 local cultural partners to plan a wide range of activities that'll drive a really good level of tourism, increased tourism, we hope, for Fairfield next year. So we're out front trying to plan a really robust set of activities. We're working with Parks and Rec to do a big July 4th event on the Fairfield Town Green. We're going to be doing reenactments. We're going to be having free public exhibitions out on the Town Green, and doing, in addition to the free community programming that we already do, quite a lot of more activities to commemorate the 250th. So the funds, I think all RTM members know, the funding we get from the town is a combination of two streams of funding that were separate in the past. One helps underwrite our care for the town's historic properties, which are under a management agreement. We take care of them, and the town helps pay for some of our operational costs for that. And the other funding directly supports the programming that we do for Fairfield students and other members of the community.
Thank you. Are there any questions regarding the Fairfield Museum? Seeing none, thank you so much for coming out. We appreciate them.
Great, thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you. Last not-for-profit, Pequot Library. We have Stephanie Coakley online, Executive Director. I think she's online. I'm not sure if John Glecker and the Finance and HR Manager is also online.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
John Gleckler is online as well. Thank you to FairTV for unmuting us. It's good to be here with all of you this evening. Thank you for inviting us to present to the RTM. I'm Stephanie Coakley, Pequot Library's Executive Director. And as I've mentioned, my colleague John Gleckler is on the line as well. He's our longtime Finance and HR Manager. Pequot Library is Fairfield's nonprofit 135-year-old library, arts and culture center, and community center. We served nearly 60,000 visitors in fiscal year 24. That's a 27% increase over prior year, and that was through 535 programs. And I just want to say in the beginning of my remarks that we thank you so very much for your continued support from the town. It's crucial to our continued success. I hope you know it's so greatly appreciated by all of us at Pequot Library. We realize we are a large chunk of the nonprofit line, and I'm sorry I'm not there with you all this evening. It would have been my preference to be in person, but I'm feeling a little under the weather. I thought I'd better stay back. And so whereas our increases at Pequot Library have definitely increased year after year, and we so much needed more municipal support, we continue to be grateful. That taxpayer support enables Pequot Library to continue to provide the myriad of free educational programming and library services for all ages, from story time for toddlers, book clubs, author talks, volunteer opportunities for some of Fairfield's older adults, to hosting, which we're so very proud of. Next month in May, we'll host yet again the Fairfield Public Schools Townwide Student Art Show. I hope you all can join us on May 28th for that opening reception. We also host large gatherings on our front lawn. Some of you may remember we gathered on the front lawn last fall to oppose the local electrical utility crisis. You name it, Pequot Library has been there for residents for 135 years, and local taxpayer support is greatly needed more than ever, perhaps. I know there was a question earlier in tonight's meeting about federal funding and that impact on our nonprofits. This week's news about the elimination of the work of the National Endowment for the Humanities directly negatively impacts Pequot Library. We've benefited from Connecticut Humanities support in the form of grants for our special collections exhibitions and also COVID relief funds. So in fact, over the last 8 or so years, Pequot Libraries benefited from, again, National Endowment for the Humanities support through our state agency, the Connecticut Humanities, to the tune of about $150,000. So do know that this will directly negatively impact Pequot Library. It's in fact a direct hit to our next budget cycle. Just the other day, my colleagues and I were talking about Connecticut Humanities opportunities for upcoming special collections exhibitions. And as my colleague, Mr. Jaley, just talked about, with the 250th anniversary coming up, Pequot Library is very much participating in those activities as well. In fact, I think we'll have no less than 3 exhibitions over about an 18-month period celebrating our nation's 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence, and we're proud to be a part of that work. But boy, does this lack of Connecticut Humanities funding really add to the pressure of the private fundraising that we know so well at Pequot Library. And I'll just wrap up by talking a little bit more about how we serve the residents of Fairfield. I mentioned a lot of the programs, the library services. We are a public library, of course. Computer access, free Wi-Fi, meeting spaces. Every day of the week, it seems that we're being called upon to open our doors and serve the community in some way, whether it's a space for tutors working with students after school, music recitals. All of this, by the way, we offer for no cost to residents and community members, businesses, and the like. And we're really proud to Lenahan Dancers, for example, it comes to Pequot Library every March, around St. Patrick's Day. That'll be happening at Pequot Library. So it's a really busy place. We're grateful for town support, and I'm happy to answer any questions at this time, but just know how deeply appreciative we are of taxpayer support. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions regarding the Pequot Library? Seeing none, thank you so much. We appreciate what the Pequot Library does in town. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, now we're going to move off of not-for-profits to town departments. We have Director Tim. Yes. Go ahead.
No, it's relative to all of these nonprofits. And
Representative Carroll, just.
I'm sorry, Representative Carroll, District 2. You know, this is my second opportunity to go through this, and some of these people do amazing work, and it's not a huge investment on the town's part when you add it all up relative to what we do. What I'd like to understand, and I think the administration might be the best people to do this because of your contact with each of these agencies, but over the next 6 months, what I've heard from them directly is that they could be affected by the cuts either directly out of Washington or the funding that goes to the state. And I'd ask if the administration could track that for us. If there's a way for you to get, I mean, I will personally contact every one of these people if I have to, but I'd like to understand the impact it's going to have on the town, both from services to our community as well as what we could be asked for in the future on funding. But I think somehow, Bill, we need some kind of an understanding that if all of these fantastic services that everybody thanks them for their work, are they going to be able to stay in a capacity to do this?
First Selectman Gerber.
That's a good idea. We'll coordinate with each one of them and ask for updates on there. And I mean, they're the ones who probably keep closest watch on funding issues. So we'll ask them to update us as soon as they hear anything.
Thank you. Are there any other general not-for-profit questions? Seeing none, we'll move on. We have Conservation Director Tim Bishop online via Zoom. This is on page 47 of our budget book. Welcome, Mr. Bishop. My computer has died, so I can't look directly at the screen to see if you're unmuted, but I believe you are from far away.
I am now, thank you. I had to get the permission.
Yeah, we can hear you. If you just want to give us a little summary about item number 1230, conservation. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Madam Moderator, ladies and gentlemen of the RTM. I've said this before, as most of you know, the Conservation Department working with and for four boards and commissions currently manages 1,270 acres of open space, tidal marsh restoration, inland wetlands, shellfish, and land acquisition programs for the town with our current staff and budget, who do a great job. I'll get into a little bit what you see on page 47 is a graph just tracking permits that we issue, and that includes certificates, inland wetland permits, and shellfish permits, as you see on the table to the left in those columns. Two of them are related to wetlands and our revenue, as well as those for shellfish. It's just a general, just to show some general trends, as well as recently, since I came on board in 21, we started tracking wetlands violations, which you can see are increasing, mostly due to enforcement, but also, significant activities that we're monitoring. So those also are important as it relates to our revenue, since those violations typically carry 2 times the original permit fee as a penalty, which is customary in many of the towns. Also to note, as it relates to revenue, July 1st of 2023, new regulations were approved by the agency and the Conservation Commission and went into effect, thereby affecting some of this, some of the department's revenue stream. Page 49 gives a breakdown of that revenue, again, highlighting CWC and in IWP application fees. Those are two largest streams of revenue as they relate to inland wetland permits, and that's determined by the significance and the location of the proposed activity. We're currently projecting increases, and I believe so far our 2025 FY 2025 budget are on track to surpass that estimate from last calendar year. So we are in a trend since 2024 when those fees went into effect that revenue has been increasing, and we foresee that to continue. Again, a lot of that is determined by what projects occur and where. There's no way to predict what's going to happen. We did see coming out of the COVID era kind of a slight decrease between 22 and 23, but again, since the revenue and the fees were revised and the structure, now we're seeing some increase. Moving on to expenses on page 50. Just a couple small summarizing the larger changes. You see line 1 for regular payroll. There's an increase both in salary and scheduled union salary related to steps. The line item for rental and storage was restored. That was money restored from previous fiscal year. And I should say the amount is returning back to the previous fiscal year amount due to rental costs of equipment, where we rent a specialized track skid steer with a mowing deck to maintain our meadows and fields in the fall. And then towards the bottom is just an exchange of $2,000 from one line item to another, just largely due to the volume increase of postage. One thing we're doing to try and avoid violations is to mail new homeowners some documentation about their property if it has regulated area of wetlands. So the office has started a new program in the last few months to work with the town clerk and acquire those listings of home transactions. We go through those transactions, finding regulated area, and then send the new homeowner a letter in hopes to educate them on their property and avoid future violations. That's really, to keep it short, the highlights of this year's proposed budget for conservation. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Bishop. Are there any questions? Representative Steele.
Thanks. Jeff Steele, District 3. I just, one question. I think you addressed it, but the majority of the increase obviously is in payroll for two particular positions. I think one happens to be yours. But these are just step increases, all contracted increases, or are they any other sort of bonus that was put in? I assume it's all contracted.
It is. I'm in addition to my part-time payroll, which is a different line. I'm the only non-union member that's not included in that step formula.
First,
Otherwise,
Gerber wants to just comment on that.
Yeah, we, our HR department, for non-union and department heads did surveys, market surveys, and for certain department heads, they were underpaid. So for certain departments, you're going to see as you go through, there were some relatively large increases to get them up to market.
Yeah, I think that was my question, Bill. Like, which ones are contracted based on step increases? And I would assume those would be mostly union.
They'd be union, yeah.
But these are based on market rates, is what you're saying. This is one of them.
Yeah. And wanting to keep good employees and going out to market, and most of the newer good employees are not on pensions, and there's a lot of not a lot of hooks to keep people here other than compensation and good work environment. And Tim was one of those people we want to keep.
Okay. And the office space manager, I assume, would fall under that too, or is that a union position? Because
That is, that is a
that's
contracted union step. Yeah,
I'm sorry?
that is a union and a contracted step.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, Representative Georgiadis?
Drew Georgiadis. Hi, Tim. I just want to say thank you for initiating some of these wetland violations. Being in District 9, these impact the neighbors and when people violate, so I appreciate that. And I also want to give you a shout out. I submitted a work order and conservation came out to the walkway at the beach and did a fantastic job. Your employees were so nice, so conscientious. So thank you for running such a great department.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. I appreciate that.
Thank you. I
They
just
did a
want to
great job.
remind, not that we're not thankful for every department head, but just to be quick, we're asking questions. So everyone's thankful for everyone, but anyone have any questions? Seeing none, thank you, Mr. Bishop. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
We're going to move on to Community and Economic Development Director Mark Barnhart. This is on page 66, 1350. Welcome, Mr. Barnhart.
Good evening, Mark Barnhart, Director of Community Economic Development. Just be brief in the interest of everyone's time. Just talk a little bit about the significant changes year over year that's in the budget request. As members know, my department has assumed responsibility for 2 additional commissions this past year. Weren't quite sure what the financial and staff impact would be at that time, but as a hedge, the Board of Selectmen thoughtfully put aside some additional dollars in the contractual services line, fees and professional services to offset some of those anticipated costs. As it turned out, we ended up hiring a part-time individual to help manage housing-related programs, a part-time housing specialist that is included in this year's budget request. In addition to obviously helping me complete the work to submit our initial moratorium application, which was just granted this past week. Mr. Ivers will continue performing compliance monitoring of our existing affordable housing inventory, providing those reports to the state, providing staff support to our Fair Rent Commission, fair housing obligations and the like, as well as undertaking work with respect to our housing rehab programs that are funded primarily through the Community Development Block Grant, but also to some extent through our Housing Trust Fund activities with the Affordable Housing Committee. The budget request also includes additional funds to support the Arts Commission's work. I think that was discussed a couple times by the chairman as to his interest in expanding their undertakings, particularly as it relates to public art. Again, I know you have a lot of other departments on the agenda tonight, so in the interest of time, I'll pause there and be happy to answer any questions that you may have at this time.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Barnhart? Representative Steele.
Thanks. Jeff Steele, District 3. Two questions. One, Mark, is there a revenue amount or that you could tell us? The different departments have revenue and expense, so I was just curious.
We don't have funds that go into the general fund. We do obviously manage some programs that are funded through a special fund. The downtown employee parking is a good example of that. We manage those parking permits for downtown businesses and their employees. That's funded separately and helps support not just the administration of the program, but also downtown improvements such as the flower baskets, street banners, other improvements downtown. Additionally, our office does oversee the Community Development Block Grant Program, federal dollars flowing from HUD. There is an additional staff position that is supported through the grant. Obviously, we're also mindful of what's happening in Washington, so we're paying attention to that, but we are not aware of any changes to that program in the immediate future. And then we do have the Housing Trust Fund, As I alluded to, that is set up by ordinance through the RTM, and it's funded primarily through supplemental building permit fees that go into a dedicated trust fund and then are to be used to increase our affordable housing inventory.
And I think you almost answered my second question, which was going to be those parking spots. I think the ones for town employees, that was part of what the tripartite agreement originally that was turned over, where economic development gets the revenue versus I think it was parking authority. And 90 or so spaces. What was the situation?
We did get some additional parking spaces that were originally set aside for commuter parking, and they're now dedicated for downtown business parking. So those funds for the parking fees do go into that dedicated downtown improvement fund.
How much is that?
The budget for that is roughly, I would say, about $70,000 a year.
Okay, thanks.
Representative Georgiadis.
Drew Georgiadis, District 9. Hi, Mark. Just could you refresh my memory? The community development block grant is about what, 500,000 a year?
Yeah, a little less right now, about $500,000, right?
And you haven't heard anything about whether it's going to be cut, or you're just crossing your fingers?
Well, we're always crossing our fingers a little bit with the appropriation process in Washington, but we haven't heard anything to suggest any significant changes to the program.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you so much, Mr. Barnhart. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next up, page 102, 4010, fire. We have Acting Chief Dunn and Deputies Case and Barry here in person with us. Welcome. Thank you, guys.
So thank you, and thank you for seeing us again. So tonight we bring you our operational budget, which will enable our fire and emergency response, our prevention and education efforts, and our training efforts. So we look forward to your questions.
Are there any questions? Yes. 102, Representative Colburn.
Colin Colburn, District 8. I was reading through the your summary, and you guys talked about how you have requirements for staffing levels. I think I read 4 additional, but then when I'm walking through the summary of personnel, I didn't see that show up. So can you just give us a little bit of detail there and how that all works from a math perspective?
Sure. The 4 additional were from last year's budget. And this year, we're just putting 2 additional positions. One is an additional deputy chief and an additional fire lieutenant training safety officer.
Okay. And I guess my other question related to that is how do you decide what you're going to add and what you're not going to add? So basically, why are you adding a deputy chief instead of, I don't know, 4 additional firefighters?
So we discussed with the administration, and we plan a strategy. We need to strengthen our administration. Also, the training safety officer is going to enhance the training and safety of our personnel, which is very, very important. There are more and more initiatives. From health and safety measures that we have to ensure that we keep our people safe, and they're our most expensive and most important resource that we have. So that's one thing. But we do work with the administration to get a strategy for additional line personnel, and they have assured us that in the future they will be considering that.
Thanks very much.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Representative Pistilli.
Sharon Pistilli, District 5. I have to apologize because this was covered on a Board of Finance meeting that I was listening to, and I just didn't understand the answer. So that's the only reason why I'm asking the question again. It was the training assistant that was on, that was $5,070 in 20, that's in for 25. that's then projected to be zeroed out in 26. And I had notes that said that like this was a position that was coordinating like programming and records for the training school. And I was just wondering like where those responsibilities were going to be absorbed.
So what we've done is there was a civilian position down at the Fire Training Center, and that civilian position has been discontinued. We wrapped up the duties into existing personnel and that new safety training lieutenant.
Got it. Now my notes make sense. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions regarding the fire? Representative McClough.
These are cumbersome. Hi, Chiefs. How are you? Megan McClough, District 2. I think I understand what's happening here and how you responded to Representative Colburn. But in the summary, of course, we're all familiar. It was discussed at length about the promotion of 8 lieutenants pursuant to the safety requirements coming out of arbitration. I don't see that reflected in the budget. Am I missing it?
So that was from last year's budget. The new 8 lieutenants.
So this whole summary is for fiscal year 2025. Has this not been updated? Page 102 and 103?
There's an issue in the summary that it was last year's summary.
It was last year's summary. We
the
included
revised,
it
it
just
wasn't
to because it had changed our footprint significantly. So we left that in there to give you historical.
Okay, so just for clarity, we're actually decreased fire lieutenants for fiscal year. I mean, we went from 29 to 28.6.
And then if you look, assistant training officer, that's a lieutenant's position. So if you look at the 4th from the bottom.
Mm-hmm. That 107,000?
Yes, that's that additional lieutenant there.
Okay, so that is still the rank of lieutenant. Is that the same salary as the lieutenants up above in the 28.6?
It is with a slight differential for working day.
Differential increase?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you so much. We appreciate you guys from being here and for everything you do for the town. Next up, page 208, item 123, Fairfield County Regional Dispatch Center. We have Director Joe Gaudette Jr., I believe, right here in person. Welcome to the RTM. I think this is your first time before us. You just have to hold that button down the entire time.
Okay. This is my first time pushing the button too, yes. Oh, good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me. I am Joseph Gaudette. I am the director of the Fairfield County Regional Dispatch Center. I've been here since September, and I've been welcomed with open arms by all of the uniformed services, and I really appreciate all their support as well as the support from Mr. Gerber and the administration. For this year's budget highlights, we're intend to conduct a reorganization to include lead dispatchers around the clock in order to increase accountability. At this point, I am the only supervisor and we are a 24/7 operation. We're continuing to work on consolidation and standardization of policies and procedures and cross-training all our employees so that we have a full complement of generalists and not specialists. Highlights in the budget, our largest percentage of increase is reflected in wage and benefit increases as a result of a new contract that makes us more competitive. And other increases are reflected in aging infrastructure, specifically service and maintenance contracts. I know folks say, oh, you've only been around for a couple, 3 years. All of these purchases of these big computers and HVACs, uninterrupted power supplies, generators, they all come with a certain amount of warranty, and then after that we have to start paying for service and maintenance. So some of those increases are reflected in this budget. And I can take questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions regarding this item? And everyone found it on page 208. It's in the back of our book. Representative Carroll.
Hi, Chris Carroll, District 8. The budget that's in front of you, on page 211, there was a line 58010, a contingency last year of $420,000 that goes down to 55,000 this year. I bring that up because if I net that out, it shows that your budget is actually going up 16% this year. If I take what appears to be a one-time expense line item, so everything else added up, I had a chance to do the math ahead of time. It is going up 16%. Do you know where and why that is?
So that has to,
Just introduce yourself for those online.
so David Becker, COO, and Emergency Management Director as well. And this, the FCRD did a pretty substantial, and you'll look on the 51010 regular payroll line where you see that going up 18%. So that is, we moved them to the telecommunicators much closer to market. So one of the issues we had was they were significantly below market. We had telecommunicators that would come in, they'd get trained up, they'd leave after a period of time, go to other municipalities. So in an effort to retain them, we moved essentially that pool up to market. So that contingency was the salary pool largely driven for that. And one of the things is the FCRD is actually typically what we would do is we would put the salary increases in our town side contingency for other bargaining units. However, the FCRD is actually split with another municipality. So if we don't approve that and put the contingency in at the beginning of the year during the budget cycle, the other municipality can't plan accordingly, and then we can't make the transfers in. So that contingency number is now dropping to just what that normal contingency partially, mentioned, and then give possible, can up, equipment upgrades, things like that may come up during the year, because we typically would not come back to the main contingency. So that salary pool is the driver. I mean, you are correct if you see that decrease in the way it nets.
Right. Okay.
But it's a one-time
Thank you.
charge.
You answered the question. Thanks.
Thank you. Are there any other questions regarding this item? Representative Steele.
Jeff Steele, District 3. Sorry, David, if you just elaborate, and I don't know the answer to this, but how is this funded again? How many municipalities?
So this is a self-supporting account, and then the town pays for 2/3 of it out of our actual ultimate budget. We bill back to Westport for 1/3. Westport has another partner within their agreement, which is New Canaan Just Fire, so not police and not what they call PSAP or 911, and they handle the billing back to New Canaan. So ultimately, we pay 2/3 of this amount. I would also note it's self-supporting, so one of the things is that we bill Westport on actuals, so the actual overtime, the actual health insurance as an example, we estimate fully all head counts, everything that's known at the beginning, but ultimately each municipality then pays what actually transpires throughout the year.
And there's also the $313,000 subsidy from the state that comes out of the 911 telecommunications fund.
Thank you. Any other questions regarding this item? Representative Pistilli.
Sharon Pistilli, District 5. That money that comes from the state, does it ultimately come from the federal government?
No, ma'am, it comes from you. That 911 surcharge money that you all pay on your phone bills, that's what comes back to us in this subsidy.
That's good news. At least I'm paying for something. Okay, thanks.
Representative McClote.
I'm gonna need to get a headset over here, no pun intended for the ECC. Megan McCloud, District 2, and hi, Joe. I know I'm used to calling you Chief Gaudette from where I'm from, so I know we call you civilian, but I know you are, for everyone's edification, you're a former police chief, so thank you for your service. A couple questions on the promotions to the telecommunications supervisor. So did I hear you correctly? You were the only supervisor in the entire ECC here, as of now?
We currently have one permanent TC2, telecommunicator 2, and currently the job description is not that of a supervisor. It's that of a more administrative duties than supervisory duties.
I see. And there's 3 shifts or 2 shifts?
3 shifts.
3 shifts.
Yes.
So right now you're pulling all-nighters. So in the
I
summary.
keep the phone on, yes.
In the summary, I see we're talking about creating 4 new telecommuter 1 positions, right? And then we're gonna transition the telecommunicator 2 to that of a lead dispatcher. But in the personnel file, it looks like we're adding 2 telecommunicator 1s. Are we changing the title of the telecommunicator 2 to lead dispatcher, or is there gonna be an additional classification?
My understanding is that the telecommunicator 2 positions are available and unfilled.
So 4 of those?
Yes.
Okay.
And so I think there's a typo in the budget summary document on page 208 where it says we're adding 4 positions. We're actually adding 2. If you look at the year prior, we had 22 telecommunicators. And last year we had 1 TC2 and 21 TC1s. This year we're asking for 4 TC2s and 20 TC1s, plus myself.
Great, thank you. And I hope we can get those so you can get some sleep. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions regarding this? Seeing none, thank you. I hope we weren't too hard on you on your first time, and we'll welcome you back sometime soon. Thank you. Good night. We're going to move on to page 180, 7080 Parks. Parks has been moved back to DPW, but we do have our Parks and Rec Director, Anthony Calabrese, here to report on this item, which is page 180.
All right.
Welcome, Mr. Calabrese.
Thank you. Good evening, Anthony Calabrese. Parks budget here on page 181. You'll see a decrease overall. Primary driver here is I guess the move of our superintendent of parks, or the removal of that from this budget. So that's primarily the decrease that you'll see. I'm happy to answer any questions on the parks budget.
Is there any questions on the Parks budget? Seeing none, we're going to move on to page 172, 7050 Recreation. Parks and Rec Director Anthony Calabrese is here for that.
I'm here all night. All right, recreation. You'll see a slight increase. Again, main drivers here are going to be regular payroll. That's really the largest number. You'll see a slight increase in fees and professional services. Fees and professional services cover Memorial Day parade, fireworks. This was a direct increase to the fireworks, specifically the marine services, which is the barge. So that is what that increase is. And then a large percentage increase in educational memberships, but not a large dollar amount. Happy to answer any questions.
Is there any questions on recreation? Representative Barrett.
Steve Barrett, District 7. Thanks for coming out, Anthony. I noticed that your Recreation Aquatics Coordinator position, in the past you told us that was primarily 40% waterfront, 40% Penfield, and 20% other. Would that be pretty much the same?
We've actually changed it. Because we've had such high turnover in that position with the demand of the responsibilities there, it is focusing almost 50-50 between waterfront and now Penfield. Those are the 2 main responsibilities. We took everything else away, and that's the additional position that was added by the at the Board of Finance meeting the other night.
Okay, so the waterfront part of it, primary duties for that take place basically for 4 months out of the year, Memorial Day.
I'm sorry, did you jump to 177? I think people.
No, I did not.
Okay, good.
Since those duties of that waterfront take place approximately 4 months, I can assume that that person will be pretty much full-time down at the beaches practically every day that they work, working strictly on waterfront duties, not having any other things to do other than waterfront, correct?
No, that's not correct. It's primarily true. They will focus a lot on the waterfront during those 4 months, Memorial Day to Labor Day. Yes, they will definitely be on site primarily every day at one of the beaches, if not multiple beaches. But they will still have responsibilities at the pavilion, scheduling staff for those events. The pavilion is the other large portion of that position. And Penfield Pavilion, which is reopened, and we'll get to, I believe we're getting to that budget next, maybe. That budget, that building is open year round. So
How much time do you foresee taking in those particular months, those 4 months? How much time out of their day, what percentage of the day do you think will be focused on Penfield and how much on the waterfront?
it's probably closer to 80-20, 80 being the waterfront, 20% Penfield.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Any other questions? Representative Steele.
Jeff Steele, District 3. Hey, Anthony. And again, this is another salary question, just so I understand. Recreation Director goes from 137 to 160. That's Galen's new position? Is that, can
No.
you just explain that? Was 137 your past position as Parks and Rec Director and it's gone up, or can you just go through that for a second?
Yes, I could cover that for you. Sorry, let me just get to the correct page. Yeah, so what you're seeing in the current budget, the Recreation Director becomes the Chief of Community Services. The Assistant Director becomes the Recreation Director. And the Account Clerk becomes a Budget Analyst is, I believe, the title that they're going with there. To your question about the salaries, those are the salaries that were in last year's book for fiscal 25. And 26 is reflected in that column. So yes, those are the increases.
So again, the first part where you said Assistant Director is becoming the
director.
The director. So we'll go from 114 to 160.
No.
Assistant Director in fiscal year
Nope,
25.
just cross out Assistant Director and write Recreation
okay.
Director. Cross out Recreation Director and write Chief of Community Services.
Okay.
All right. Any Representative O'Neill?
Hi, Kristen O'Neill, District 5. I'm sure this is something you explored, but I have had many constituents and fellow parents ask me, given how popular the playground camps are every summer, would it be possible to create more spaces at those camps or have them at more locations and possibly create more revenue?
It's a great question. Short answer is no. We are allocated space at our playground camps from the Board of Ed central office here. And we can't have camps where they have construction projects, and they can only do school construction projects in the summer. So that does limit where we can do it. We do limit our sites to about 200 kids. Sometimes we can get to 225. That's not saying we couldn't put more than 225 kids at a site. We could absolutely put 400 at a site. I mean, right, that's the school max at a lot of these, or 504. We get hamstrung by field trips when we go on field trips. If we go to Nutmeg Bowl, they can't host 400 kids. So we would have to break those field trips up into multiple trips over potentially multiple days. Not that it's impossible, it's just logistically, it's tough to do. I believe back in 2012 or so, I did do that. We were really short on site, so we actually put we put 2 camps at Fairfield Woods. We called it Fairfield Woods A, Fairfield Woods B. They went bowling. A went on Monday, B went on Tuesday. But then you got into the part where, again, I'm sorry to draw this out, but then parents are like, well, I can't make Monday. Tuesday would be better for us. We'd love to go then. And it was a logistical nightmare. So sorry for the long-winded answer, but you're
Thank
welcome.
you. Representative Pistilli.
Thank you. Sharon Pistilli, District 5. Anthony, thanks so much for being here. We really appreciate seeing you in person. I have a question, and it's kind of a risk management question. Can you explain, so if for this, the person who's splitting their time between aquatics and recreation, so if we have somebody who's 80-20 during the summer, like what's the chain of command for lifeguards during their shifts? And so like, how are we covered in terms of supervision if there were a fatality or there's some kind of event where the town could somehow potentially face liability?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. We have 2 assistant waterfront directors so we have at least 2 supervisors on 7 days a week. Between the 3 positions, there's 2 people that will always be on from 10 to 6, which is when our lifeguards are on duty. But each beach has beach captains, they have assistant captains. So there's already a chain of command at each individual beach. They all have EAPs, emergency action plans, that spell out exactly what they're supposed to do and how they're supposed to react to an emergency. They get trained on those EAPs from our police and fire departments and our emergency services. So we're really confident in what our lifeguards do on the beach.
Okay, so it's it's we're not creating risk by having this job split. So if there's a big event at Penfield, would we be somehow exposed that there's a break in the chain of command with the lifeguards?
No. And for up until 4 years ago, this position was a part-time position at the beach that Mr. Perez could speak to. He was in it for many, many years. So no, I don't believe we're putting the town or the beachgoers at risk.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Representative Carroll.
Hi, Chris Carroll, District 8. You mentioned it before. This question came up the other day. I think it's one question, but you can count it as 2. Can you explain how the fields and various facilities on school properties are sometimes managed by schools, reservations and things, sometimes managed by the Parks Department? And as a follow-up to that, if you had a clean sheet of paper, is this the way you'd do it?
It's a tough question. So it's a good question. I'll get back to you on the how would I do it part. The school handles everything inside the school buildings. So all gymnasiums, classrooms, things of that nature, they handle the rental fees. They have their process. They have their own online system that you have to go through to book out a reservation for that. Similarly, we have a reservation system where you book out fields. So we handle the exterior athletic fields of all the schools, with the exception of Fairfield Ward High School, the complex at Fairfield Ward High School, and the front field at Ludlow High School. Those are the only 2 locations that we do not maintain. But that's the split. That's how the split has historically been. I couldn't speak to why it's been that way. I've been here over 20 years at this point, and that's how it was when I got here. If we were starting from scratch, would I do it differently? Potentially. But I don't think I would have built schools where our schools are. I don't think I would have built fields where they are. So yeah, there's a whole rabbit hole you could go down, but you're welcome.
Thank you. Are there any other questions regarding recreation? Seeing none, we'll move to waterfront, page 177. Mr. Calabrese.
Okay, you heard a little bit about waterfront. The waterfront does house our entire beach operations here. So this is lifeguards, beach stickers, but you'll see zeros across the board, except in the payroll line. Seasonal payroll, this is parking attendants and lifeguards, and minimum wage went up. So you see that wage compression across the board, and happy to answer any questions here.
Are there any questions, Representative Barrett?
I know that Steve Barrett's District 7. I know that you said that the 2 assistant waterfront directors, they're pretty much paid out of that waterfront seasonal payroll account, correct?
Sorry, I just want to make sure I'm on the right. They are paid out of the seasonal, yes, the seasonal line.
So they would have no other responsibilities other than strictly waterfront. They couldn't be used for Penfield or anything else along those lines.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions regarding waterfront? Representative, oh my gosh, Colburn.
Colin Colburn, District 8. In the summary, I see for when you look at beach sticker passes for beach stickers like Mohegan, daily parking pass, the fiscal year of 22-23 when compared to 23-24, there's declines in beach sticker passes and Lake Mohegan. Can you comment on what that looks like looking at the current fiscal year we're in today versus last year's?
We're probably going to be a little ahead of these numbers that you see here, 33,000. I think we'll probably be closer to the 35,000 mark. Historically, these numbers don't change much. What we do see change in is from our, what we call an adult pass, an adult $25 beach sticker to a senior sticker. So you might have a slight decrease in adult, but an increase in senior. So you may have a dip in revenue because the seniors pay a little less, but historically, these numbers will stay pretty static.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Any other questions regarding Representative Steele?
Jeff Steele, District 3. Anthony, in terms of day parking rates, where have they gone over the last 2 to 3 years and up to now?
Yeah, we're at $40 during the week and $50 on weekends and holidays. That's pretty standard across Fairfield County from our neighbors. Some are at 40, some are at 60, some are at 35 and 50, but we're right in the ballpark right now.
Where has that gone? Like, what were we charging last year and 2 years ago versus what we are planning to charge this year?
Last year, the rates were the exact same that we have this year. I believe it was 2 years ago or just maybe 3 years ago, we were at 20 and 40. So we did increase.
A lot. Yeah, that's a big increase. And when are we planning to increase that again? I mean, we're talking about out-of-towners.
Yep. So we look at it every year. Parks and Rec Commission will look at it every year. We did increase the non-resident beach pass.
That's what I was asking.
Okay. I misunderstood. No, that's okay. The non-resident beach pass is $250 for the season. We did up that from $225 a couple years ago. Again, $250 seems to be the rate that most towns around us. Norwalk's at $250. I believe Stratford's at $250. The one outlier is Westport. They're at, I think they went from $750. Actually, I think they lowered it to like $725. But they also limit the number of non-resident passes that they sell. I believe it's 300. We don't limit the number of non-resident passes. We sell between 11 and 1,200 annually.
And is the daily rate the same for resident or non-resident?
Daily rate is the same regardless of residency. If you don't have a beach sticker, you're treated as a non-resident.
Okay.
Thank you. Representative Horton.
Margaret Horton, District 10. Just another follow-up question about the daily parking. Being in District 10, and I know in District 9, where a lot of the traffic kind of comes through to go to the beach, over the past few years, we've definitely seen an increase in people parking, like in the old Bob's lot, things like that, and kind of Ubering down to the beach. So we have a situation where non-residents are using the beaches, which I'm happy for people to come use the beaches, certainly, but we're obviously not getting any revenue from that. Is there any way to address this? I don't know that there's an easy solution, but I'm just curious what we can do potentially about that.
There's no easy solution. I know the owners of the Bob's parking lot have tried to police that with, tow away signs, and they've put security in there one year. I don't think they had it last year. Unfortunately, I don't want to say unfortunately because it's not unfortunate. Our beaches are open to anybody that wants to walk in, right? So the only fee that we're charging is for parking. So yes, we see more and more people Ubering every year, but a lot of people take their bikes. A lot of people walk in. A lot of people will park at other locations. Maybe not Bob's. I don't want to say one because I don't want to give anybody any ideas of where to park. But they do park in other places where there's permits aren't required, and then they'll walk in. So it's tough for us to try to stop that. And our beaches, as we found out during COVID, are extremely porous. It's not like Campo in Westport where you have one entrance in and out. You can get onto our beaches from all different angles and entry points. So.
Thanks. And to be clear, I want people enjoying the beaches. It's just the idea of the money it costs to keep the beaches up and trash collection, et cetera, and not necessarily getting the revenue.
And I just do want to point out one last thing is I follow all the state legislature and all the bills that they try to pass. And every year the beach access bill comes up where they want to give free access to everybody. So it's one of these that I fight every year. I'm sure some of you don't like that, but for that reason alone right there is why.
Thank you, Representative McCloat.
Megan McCloud, District 2. Hi, Anthony. I have a couple questions. I'll start with one and then we'll do our round robin. The first one, just out of curiosity, because I know we're coming off of a major construction year, and I had heard a couple of issues of out-of-town beach permit holders that were complaining that they weren't able to actually use the Penfield facilities because it was out of commission throughout the beach season last summer. Did we have to process any refunds or any issues with that, or was that like a one-off thing?
If we did, it was very few. I don't know the number off the top of my head, but I know our non-resident number wasn't drastically off.
I'll wait for the rest of mine, or? Oh, I can ask one more, and then we'll come back again. Second one, and it may be a little bit of a taboo topic, and this I hope is a question for you, but it might need also supplemented by First Selectman Gerber. I hear that there's conversations from some friends that live in other towns about the potential of us offering a partnership for reduced beach permit access, notably Easton and Reading, and that there were conversations about whether or not that was something we were going to consider as an administration. If that is a discussion that's happened, how far along are we on that?
You can pick which one wants to answer that. First, Selectman Gerber.
That is all me. I've had multiple inquiries, as I guess my predecessor did as well. We are not far along on it at all. But what I did say to them is if we were going to consider that, there'd have to be a pretty attractive quid pro quo. And haven't seen that yet. So I'm not sure this is, feasible. But if we get a good offer from them for something that our residents want, we could consider it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Before Representative McClote asks any further, anyone who hasn't spoken yet? Go back for it.
Thank you. Last question, I promise. I grew up every summer going to the Jersey Shore, which obviously is a big seasonal summertime vacation spot, and they do beach badge checkers, right? So for the people that walk on beaches, you have to purchase a badge, and it comes with your rentals, things like that for, high summer usage locations. Is that something our town has ever discussed or considered to address this issue of the increased Uber walkers from wherever they're walking? Have we ever looked at whether or not we could actually do beach badge checking for revenue?
We have actually. Representative Georgiadis has actually brought this up several times over her many terms here. And it's just something that we have looked at, but we haven't had the appetite from any administration to go that route yet. Again, beaches being free and open, it's a fine line of what you can charge for.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Any other questions regarding waterfront? We'll move on to Penfield Pavilion Complex, page 168. Mr. Calabrese.
All right, probably the easiest budget of the night for you guys, or for me anyway. You'll see a huge increase here, but this is fully due to the building being completely open and have full access for our public to use this summer. So that's what those increases are. You'll see an increase in payroll lines, increase in part-time seasonal. Again, that's people that work at Penfield, events. You'll see increases in utilities. You'll see increases in maintenance and repairs, communications, cleaning and janitorial. Literally every line item we have here does go up slightly because now it's not just Jackie Durrell, it's also the Penfield Pavilion. Happy to answer any questions.
Representative Georgiadis.
Hey, Anthony. My question is the roof going to be fixed? Will the leak be fixed?
I believe it's been fixed, knock on wood.
Thank you. Any other questions? Representative Estorita.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Thank you, Madam Moderator. Ken Astorita, District 1. Anthony, thanks for coming. How comfortable are you in that 460,000 Penfield rental number?
Extremely. Yeah, extremely comfortable.
Then I'm happy.
Representative McCabe.
Michelle McCabe, District 4. I'm so sorry. I'm kind of backtracking because I thought of a question afterwards. And
Not allowed. No. Just kidding.
This is actually, well, you may regret, it's a little controversial.
Maybe it's really not allowed then.
Yeah.
All
But
right, go ahead.
I'm going to just try. We were talking a lot about figuring out ways to, get contributions for the beach that people are using. And is there any way that you can foresee for us to do if you can't beat them, join them situation and charge students that come for SantaCon? Is there any way that we can do that based on how they get there and stuff?
Looks like First Selectman Gerber's ready to take this one.
I I don't think that we're prepared to. I mean, we're looking at every single opportunity. I think initially, we would like to make SantaCon safe so that people don't like die, and so so that we're not really looking first to charge people to be unsafe. So I think that is something we've talked about, but what we're really asking is for the university to do what they're doing with Clam Jam, where they charge people, but then we're talking about fencing it off and having a controlled party.
In terms of just logistics, separate from philosophy, logistically, because this is going to come as a surprise. I haven't been to SantaCon. So I don't know I don't even know how they get there. So like, I don't know if it's like cars and stuff. I don't know. I'm just curious if like logistically, based on how we charge people to use the beach when they're normally doing it, is there a way to charge them?
No.
No. So I
yeah.
think the big difference between Clam Jam and SantaCon is SantaCon actually happens on private property. It's not on the public beach. It happens at. I would love to think that most of them are walking because they live down there. Obviously, there's a lot of people that are coming from out of town. Where they're parking, I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, probably Bob's. I'm not 100% sure. So I can't speak to that, but where the actual party is happening is on Lantern Point, which is private beach.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right, last item for Anthony is page 191, 7113, H. Smith Richardson Golf Course.
Okay, H. Smith Richardson, you'll see revenues going up. I believe it's over 10% with some of the changes that the Board of Finance made. So feeling really comfortable there. Again, revenues are going up. We increased rates for greens fees by $1 a round, and we increased carts fees by $2 a round. So you'll see some of that in there. And then as far as the expenses go, again, big driver here is regular payroll, which is all contractual. They're in the Public Works Union. And then you'll see some seasonal increases. Again, we've got everybody that works at the golf course outside of maintenance seasonal are minimum wage employees. So again, slight increase for minimum wage there. Everything else we tried to hold pretty steady as best we could. Looks like clothing and dry goods went up $200. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions regarding the H. Smith Richardson Golf Course? Representative Steele.
Jeff Steele, District 3. What would be a golf golf budget item without me asking a question on golf? But the recent vote for, or the item that came before us, the 1.5 million, how does our pushing that off impact you guys going forward in terms of paving and everything that was going to be done?
We're at least a month behind now. Had we gotten approval, and again, I guess I should have been here, didn't realize I was supposed to be, so I apologize. Had we gotten approval, we would have started that project April 10th, which is a couple days from now. So now we need to wait until you guys vote on that item on April 28th. Once we get the approval, we'll attempt to get on TILCON's schedule. Hopefully they still can fit us in for sometime in May. If not, it just gets pushed out a little further to the summer.
Can you even schedule ahead of time with the assumption that we pass that?
We are in discussions with them to try to get on their schedule with the assumption that it'll be passed. But that again is difficult, especially given this past go around.
And the paving would all be done this year?
It would be. They would get in and do the preliminary work where they're setting the paths, and then likely in June is when they would come back and pave it all in one shot. And that would only take, I think they told us 6 days.
It would be closed during those 6 days?
No, they think we can stay open. They've got screens and stuff that they could put around their trucks as they're backing them in. It would just be a couple holes at a time that would interfere. So
thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Representative Rock.
Hey, Anthony, how are you? Hey, I just have a general concern. I know that the driving range is getting a lot of play, and the nets seem to have sort of torn, and there are a lot of balls going off campus, if you will, into the open space, and there's a walking path right there, and a lot of balls are landing right where people are walking their dogs, and I am very concerned that there's going to be an unfortunate incident there. Is there any chance that we can get these nets repaired? I know that they were repaired and then we had some winter storms, but I'm very concerned.
Yes, thank you for bringing that to my attention. I'll go up there tomorrow and talk with Peter Kearney to see what we can do about repairing those nets. As far as the balls going off campus, hopefully there won't be as many once the nets are repaired. We do have the crew going through, I believe, every Wednesday right now, outside of the netting area to gather all the balls that are making their way over there.
Okay, great. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Representative Georgiadis.
Drew Georgiadis, District 9. I see in the revenue column for the driving range that it's reflected the increase that you discussed last year when we approved the finances. So can you just give a quick summary on what has actually happened? Thank you.
Yes, I can. So you'll see we're looking at we carried 350,000 for the current 315,000 for the current budget. We're at 375 for fiscal 26 if your budget books weren't updated. But I can kind of give you I think it might have been Representative Carroll that was asking me for to be prepared to speak about the driving range budget. So what I actually did was I tried to keep track of our running expenses for the current fiscal year. Just a P&L for the driving range, which I don't normally track that level of detail, but I did in this case. And as of right now, we're projecting to bring in about $394,000 of revenue this fiscal year. So that's way over our 315 that we had budgeted. June 30th, yeah, for fiscal 25. So I've got 375 in there next year. As I explained to the Board of Finance, for those of you who have been around know that I do try to budget as conservatively as possible. I'm not worried that the craze is gonna slow down, or the new fad is gonna wear off. So that's why I didn't bump this number to 400. However, when I was selling this idea to all the boards originally, I knew what the revenue was going to potentially be like, just looking at other driving ranges that have what we just built. And I mean, Stanford's a good case there. They're making about $1 million a year. They have a double decker, but there's serious potential here to make revenue all year long. I mean, this past month alone, the revenue for us was $47,000, a little over $47,000. Last year, $1,800. So, I mean, that just goes to show you when you have, the covered bays, the heat, even the net here, the net we're looking at is about a little over $253,000 net. So this project, as I said when we were going for approval, is going to pay for itself probably in 2 to 3 seasons, maybe less. You're welcome.
Any other questions? Representative Barrett.
Steve Barrett, District 7. Anthony, is there any thought of changing the pricing at the driving range for residents versus non-residents?
The commission has talked about it. They so far have decided to kind of play a wait and see on how it's going. They've talked about having a membership up there. They don't really want to go that route at the moment. Doesn't mean that they won't increase their rate. Just across the board. Right now we're at $10 for a bucket of 55 balls, or a warm-up bucket for $5 and 22 balls, which is a really good deal. It's low compared to other places right now. But they will look at it and they'll evaluate it every year.
Thank you. Are there any other comments regarding this item? Representative Carroll.
Hi, Anthony. And this is relative to potential revenues. Myself and a couple of other RTM members talked with some non-commissioned people who had some ideas. They weren't complaining. They were on and on about how great the driving range was, but they had really good ideas like, why don't they send people out the back in the mornings? Everybody wants to get off early. Professionals can do it. It might be something reasonable. A lot of ideas. The part that they did raise some concerns about is the whole reservation system and how it seems gamed, that there's certain people who always have the initial tee times, that there's the pro is able to pull times. Nobody can seem to find out where they go. And is there ever any type of audit of what's going on there? I don't know any of these people on the commission. I did meet the one gentleman who was here the night you were on. Great guy. I mean, I'm sure everybody has the best intention, but sometimes an outside look of how we could improve it to improve the revenue, the fact that residents probably should get some of those early times versus non-residents who know how to get on the phone and click the right button at the right time. So I guess there's a potential for revenue. Is that anything that's ever looked at, or is it, hey, it's working, leave it alone?
It's looked at all the time. As a matter of fact, we did just go through an internal audit by our internal auditor from the finance department. I believe this probably September, October, and this was initiated, I believe, by the first selectman, who wanted this looked at because he was getting complaints from golfers saying, I can't get tee time. Basically, the findings were the system we have works great. We just have a very popular course. And if you're a resident right now, you get to book a tee time 7 days in advance. A non-resident gets to book a tee time 6 days in advance. So we're actually losing non-residents. It would be better for the town and our budgets if we had more non-residents playing. We used to have a 3-to-1 ratio. We are at about a 5-to-1 ratio at the moment, from resident to non-resident. So while our rounds are increasing, our revenues increased too because we continue to raise rates. But if the rates were all the same, you would actually see a decrease in our revenue because we have more residents playing than non-residents. So the non-residents aren't supplementing our income anymore. I do think everything we've seen as far as software goes, 4UP is probably the most used software out there at the moment. Like I said, we let residents book 7 days in advance and non-residents 6. Other places like Tashoe, I don't know if you've played there before or you know people that play there. You don't get a preference. You don't get preferential treatment if you're a resident. It's just 7 days in advance and it's a free for all. Resident, non-resident, whoever gets the tee time gets the tee time. We did see, it was brought to our attention that people may have been using bots and having some bot try to get their tee time. So the Golf Commission did put a policy in that if you are caught using a bot, that there would be a penalty and you'd lose your tee times and the ability to make tee time. So we haven't had anybody caught or ratted out that's doing that. But again, the audit didn't show either that the same people were getting, that 7:30 tee time or whatever the first, the early tee time. They weren't the same people every week.
I would look at the back 9 though. More and more courses are doing that.
Thank you.
Thank you. I believe I have 2 representatives that have already asked questions. So if anyone hasn't asked a question and has one, seeing none, Representative Steele.
Thanks, Jeff Steele. You just following up on it's a good question, and I'm glad the first selectman put in an audit of that, and I know we have talked about that in the past, because my question is there a way to determine if a bot is involved? Because when individuals go to get tee times at 5 o'clock when it opens up, even at 4:59 ready to go, and boom, they're kicked back to 12 o'clock. It's just, how can you not get a tee time all morning? And I think people then have raised concerns to people in authority that something seems to be off. So is there a way to determine if a bot is involved? I know you haven't found anything, but is there a way to even detect it or not?
Yeah, 4UP has all those securities in place, and they're telling us that bots aren't being used. Again, I think the audit shows that this just comes down to a demand issue, a supply and demand. And I think for the tee times that we're talking about, there's only 30-something slots, if that. I might even have that number on the high end right now per day. So, and then if you take into consideration on certain days, the men's club has tee times, the women's club has tee times. So those come off the board automatically. So then the inventory is even less for those days. But yes, the 4UP can tell us, this is suspicious activity.
I think it definitely benefits this town to have more resident passes than non-residents because I think they respect the course more, right? You don't have the out-of-towners in. I think our course is preserved and looks as good as it is because, I mean, that's one of the reasons, I think. So it's a net positive, even though it's not bringing in as much revenue, my opinion.
That's the argument the commission has almost every month.
Thank you. Representative Rock.
Hey, Anthony, just a comment and then a quick question. Living on the road that the people travel to get to the driving range, you said you did 18,000, last year and now 47,000. It just translates to traffic. We've got a ton more people coming up and there are a lot of out of state license plates. So, just keep that in mind going forward. We're dealing with it, but it is certainly, we've got extra trash and things like that. My question is, I did go up the other day, not the other day, probably about 6 weeks ago. I went up around 8 o'clock. It was kind of a crummy day, but I wanted to hit balls, and I was thrilled to see that the bay lights were actually off, and I was able to turn them on manually. And so I lit up the bay, but the overhead lights shooting out into the sort of fairway, if you will, they are permanently on. And I'm wondering if a user can go in and turn the lights on and off, which is actually awesome. Can we not get the overhead lights to shut off as well? I mean, why are we blasting light into the dark sky, if we don't need to? If we're also, obviously that'd be great to have a couple of switches there. I mean, I flipped on the bay switches and I shut them off when I left. And it would be great to do the same with the overhead lights. Is it possible?
It's definitely possible. Those overhead lights are on a timer, so they do go off. Honestly, it could just be a staff thing too. If it's a day where it's really slow, they could turn the lights off until somebody showed up and then flip them on. They don't take long to warm up. They're not like the old halogen lights, in a gymnasium that take time to warm up. They're all LED, so they go on pretty much immediately.
Yeah, I mean,
We
especially
can look
in
at.
shoulder seasons, it would be great, just to kill the lights if nobody's up there. I mean, really, in the wintertime, there's a lot less. It would be great to just be able to shut them off. Somebody will flip them back on. People are pretty responsible and decent. There's no reason to just burn, extra energy and extra light up there if we don't have to.
We can look into it. Thank you.
Cool.
Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you. Mr. Calabrese, I just want to apologize and let the body know that we did look into possibility of having a special meeting before one of our meetings to vote on the item we postponed. Our town clerk has checked with the town attorney and due to the wording, and due to our rules to regulate, we cannot have a special meeting on that item. So I apologize, we have to wait till that day. But for the rules to regulate committee, if you want to look into that, it's Robert's rules and rules to regulate, I think, right? No, it's just Robert's rules. So, Representative Garskoff.
Thank you. Can you explain, Madam Moderator, what was it because it was delayed to a date certain? Is that the problem? Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. And also that was an effect of not having the consent calendar that night. So that's something to think about as the rules to regulate committee when we don't have a consent calendar or how late we go for our committee meetings. Last item, page 202, WPCA 1301310, I think. General Manager Michelle Gore and Superintendent John Bodie, I believe, are both on via Zoom. Welcome and thank you.
Hi, good evening. I hope all could hear me clearly.
We can, thank you.
Great. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name's Michelle Gore. I'm the General Manager of the Water Pollution Control Authority. Thank you again for hearing tonight's presentation of our proposed budget for fiscal year 26. John Bodie, our WPCF Superintendent, does join me tonight for this budget proposal. So as you likely know, WPCA is comprised of both our facility, the Water Pollution Control Facility, and the town sewer department. And this proposed budget encompasses both arms of our utility. The WPCA is self-supporting through its own enterprise fund. We use that fund to finance our services. In that way, we operate a lot like a business, as I'm sure you're all very familiar with. Our revenue is generated from the fees and charges for services, which is used to cover the costs of providing those services. We're looking tonight for your approval of our proposed budget. It was prepared with the support internally of John, also our Department of Public Works and our Finance Department. We're looking at this year, as we look at our revenue, of almost a 15% increase over fiscal year 25. And primarily this is due to revenue that is generated from our inflow and infiltration fees. These are one-time charges for new or modified connections to our sanitary sewer system. We also generate revenue from our sewer permit fees and our annual sewer user fees. The revenue that we are generating from sewer user fees, we're expected to increase our rates in fiscal year 26. This rate increase is really married to our new 10-year capital improvement plan. That plan is more robust than what it's been in the past. And to WPCA's brand new funding policy, which provides a reliable breakdown of the funding of our capital projects between the town and the WPCA. We'll also be applying some flexibility when it comes to our rates for fiscal year 26 through the use of our fund balance. So something that we haven't done in the past will be creating a rate stabilization fund and transferring monies from that balance into that fund, again, for the purpose of stabilizing our rates, especially for the coming year, due to the number of significant capital projects that will be active at the same time in parallel. A modest income that we were receiving from marketing our composted sludge at the facility will be discontinued in fiscal year 26 due to new state legislation that no longer allows us to land apply that material in Connecticut. Similar states are taking on legislation that's very much the same. So again, that's limiting our ability to market the material. We are initiating a revenue study with a utilities management consulting firm. We've initiated that study just very recently, and we're looking for that study to help us evaluate and make recommendations to further inform our rate structure and our permit fees moving forward. When we take a look at our expenditures, we have, again, from the way we're managing our sludge, we have a significant new expenditure. It's upwards of $950,000 annually to dispose of our sludge. Again, that's due to the new state legislation. This wasn't anything that was previously planned for. Capital outlay equipment expenditures identified in this coming year's budget. They're significant. We have an aging infrastructure. We also have aging equipment at our facility. We're doing the best we can to fund as much of those plant improvement projects from our operating budget, because we feel as though we'd be able to purchase and install that equipment at a lower cost, independent of what we're pursuing through our more major phased-in approach of plant upgrades identified in our capital plan. We are seeing some new increased fees for professional services. Again, that's related to the modified way we're managing our our biosolids, our sludge in the coming year. We also have a permit reapplication that needs to be made. So our state issued permit for our discharge to Long Island Sound, that is going to expire in fiscal year 26, and we need to reapply. That happens every 5 years. We just happen to be hitting that year in fiscal year 26, so we'll be seeking specialized consulting services to support that effort. And again, we have increased capital projects to support, and those professional services will be provided to us by other town departments, including our capital projects office and our engineering office. We'll have information technology needs in fiscal year 26 that are above and beyond what we've seen in the current fiscal year. Again, that's to support our capital projects. It's to improve our existing GIS platform. It's to provide software that's necessary for us to identify and monitor excessive inflow and infiltration. So that's clean water that's entering our water pollution control facility. If we have too much clean water entering that facility, then we're less efficient at cleaning that water. We have emergency repairs that need to be made to our aging collection and conveyance system. Those are identified in our coming year's budget. We are addressing the repair and rehabilitation of our collection system through our capital plan, but there is routine maintenance that needs to be performed, and that's what we're taking out of our operating budget. We're also requesting the addition of one new position at the facility, and this is for a level 1 wastewater maintainer. Right now, we have 3 vacant operator positions at the facility, and that's detrimental to us. We find that we're best able to recruit folks from the ground up. It's very challenging to recruit wastewater operators at a higher classification. In Connecticut, there are 4 levels of wastewater treatment operator classifications, and that's a progressive approach for the certifications. There's education, continuing education units, as well as experience that needs to be achieved in order to get to that classification. We're a class 3 facility, so we need to recruit operators at that level of classification. So again, we are looking to fill those needs, really coming from our wastewater maintainers. I'm happy to take any questions that you have at this time in regards to our revenue and expenses for the coming year.
Is there any questions, Representative Estrita?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Canastarita. District 1, just a quick question. In your expenses, the last line item, authorized appropriations, it's showing a credit of almost 800,000. What exactly is that?
The authorized appropriations is actually what we're using to balance our revenue and our expense budget for the coming year. And we saw similar for that account in fiscal year 25.
So it's basically just an accounting line item? Is that what I'm?
That's correct. And you're seeing it at that level primarily because we had this unplanned for need when it comes to managing our sludge. That's a huge expense that's coming out of this coming year's budget that we needed to account for and balance out.
Okay, so basically that sludge expense doesn't exist anymore. So to balance yourself out, you're showing this credit of almost 800,000.
So we're actually taking the appropriations out of our fund balance and giving it, we're giving us money from our fund balance and then appropriating it to our expenses to offset that expense.
Okay, I got it. I understand now. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Representative Kuhn.
Oh, I can unmute. Okay. I'm just curious about the 2 electric utility line items. You've got a PPA line, and then you've got I guess market rate electric line. How do you go about deciding how much to enter into a PPA? Is there some sort of thought process behind that, or is that just
There is. So that account actually captures the total cost of electricity supply to our facility and pump stations provided by our fuel cell power source, which is Doosan, and GRE, which is providing us solar power. So our total power usage supplied by these two alternative power sources, we're expecting to continue to rise. And so I'll use an example from fiscal year 23, our electrical supply from UI, so straight UI electrical supply accounted for over 2/3 of WPCA's total power consumption costs. And then since that time, it's reduced by nearly half of that amount. So our fiscal year 26 budget projection is a little bit conservative. We're incorporating a higher reliance on UI power sources versus alternative sources. But as long as alternative power source equipment that services our facility remains consistently reliable in operation, and it has been, the usage should fall off in favor of power consumption charges specifically to this PPA account.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, Representative Georgiadis.
Drew Georgiadis, District 9. Question about the sludge and the composting. Is the state issues, that's around the PFAS issue?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Representative Colburn?
Thanks very much. Colin Colburn, District 8. On the revenue side of things, is it fair to assess, I'm looking at sewer use interest and sewer use lien fees. Is it fair to assess that that the percentage changes there that are pretty high? Is the assumption basically that the rate increases that we're proposing for 2026 are going to result in fewer users paying their fees on time?
Not necessarily. I think that that's really reliant upon projections based off of this last year's payment of fees and what's going to carry over into fiscal year 26.
So I guess I'll restate back to you just so I'm understanding. So we have currently users who are not paying their fees in a timely manner.
Correct.
And that's increasing this and potentially going to spill into next year as well.
Correct.
Okay. The other question, and this is it's a little nitpicky, but I'm going to ask it anyways. Advertising on the expense side of things. You have a pretty substantial percentage increase there. Just out of curiosity, what's that?
Yeah, thanks for asking that question. So historically, the commission has not been public noticing its decisions on connection requests to our collection system. And regulatorily, actually, I should say statutorily, we are required to do so. That was something that was brought to our attention just a few months ago by town legal counsel. And so we've started advertising our notices of decision. And that's what the advertising increase is related to.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Rock.
Hi, Ms. Gore. I sort of a multi-question here. Obviously, we all know in town that there is, we just went through the 830G. We've got the moratorium, but just before we got it, there are, predatory sort of developers that have thrown a lot of projects at us. And I'm in District 2, and there are 3 major projects that are north of the Merritt Parkway. And it's 4480, which has 92 units. There's 4421 that has 209 units. And then there's a proposal to put on Congress at 1147 Congress, another, I think, like 30 or 40 units. And so in the scope of all of that, I know that those developers come to TPZ and they say, the sewer line's going to be.
Senator Rock, I'm going to ask that you keep focused on the question.
Yeah. So the question is really, are you aware of all of the projects and the flow that it will take to, I mean, there's about 1,000 people now that, if all of these things come to fruition, that will be using these lines. And I know that the line has recently been approved for replacement. Can we handle that flow? And can you talk to that point, please?
Sure. So I don't know if this is necessarily a budget question, or is this more so a planning and strategy type of capital planning question?
I'm comfortable to take it offline if you don't feel comfortable answering it now.
I'm fine answering it. I just wanted to
Yeah,
make sure.
Representative Rock, we're going to ask you to take it offline. I'm sorry, I stepped out for a moment, but
I just wanted to make sure we're cognizant of time.
Okay,
yes,
great. I'll
please.
follow up. Thanks.
I'm
Thank
happy
you.
to follow up with you. Thank you.
Representative McClote.
Megan McCloud, District 2. You may have said this, and I apologize if I missed it, it's getting late, but this 1,700% increase in claims handling service, is that claims that you have to handle because of damaged infrastructure that you have to respond to?
In part, that is in response to claims that we're managing in response to repairs to our collection system.
So in comparing fiscal year 2024 actual, we spent 46,000, and then fiscal year 2025, we said, oh, it's not gonna happen again. Crap happens, but it's not gonna happen again. And then we now are budgeting back like we know it's gonna happen again. Explain that to me, would you mind?
We should have budgeted it for fiscal year 25, and we did not. And so we're running at risk if we're not budgeting for that. So we've added that into our budget for fiscal year 26.
And to that point, is fiscal, just because we can only go back to 2022 here, is it, from your knowledge since being here, is fiscal year 2024 the first time we actually budgeted for it?
I can't say that because I haven't been here historically. Just from what I see from past budgets, I see the same that you've seen. I know that in addition to emergency repair services, specifically to our collection system, this account also is earmarked for any type of third-party administrator claims handling. So inclusive of emergency repair services to our collection system. So I believe there would always have been some type of charges to this account at different levels, but I can't speak to what went into planning or calculating those previous budget numbers.
Okay, and I assume that goes out to bid for collection agencies, right? It's a similar RFP
Correct.
process, all that? Okay.
Right,
Thank you very
correct.
much.
Thank you, Representative Zezima.
Thank you, Liz Esma, District 4. Hi, Michelle. So I
Hi.
wanted to ask about line item 44001, dividend interest income, which it looks as if it's, if you just backtrack a couple of years, there was a dip in 25. We're back up to a little under the 24 level at a 30% increase. Are we comfortable with that? I mean, given where the markets are right now? And if you could just explain, actually what that investment represents.
Sure. So that line item represents interest that WPCA collects on the amount of its fund balance and where its fund balance is invested. And so we're invested primarily in two specific accounts right now. We are working on, we do have a financial planning model in place. And that is showing that the WPCA's fund balance will be secure out through the next 5 years. It actually shows us being secure out through the next 10 years. As I mentioned earlier in the presentation this evening of this budget, I am working with a consulting firm on furthering our financial plan for WPCA. This is part of what is being evaluated and analyzed by that firm.
Also, Representative Zezima, I think we have CFO Tom Harris here, and we haven't utilized him the whole time. And welcome. I think this is your first official meeting, and I apologize for not properly introducing you, but he would like to answer this question a little bit more in detail too.
Wrong button. So the dividend and interest in based on investments, that the town makes. Basically, the cash and debt that we have, bonds that we have invested in. We have about 200 and more than 200, in excess of $200 million of investments. And those investments are in 3 to 5 year bonds primarily. And there are some short-term investments as well. And right now, we're budgeting to have in excess of $9 million of total investment income in 2026. A portion of that is allocated to WPCA based on their fund balance relative to the total investments. So that is the dividend and interest income that is allocated to the WPCA.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So bonds, of course, are more bullish, and that makes sense. Thank you.
Are there any other questions regarding this item? Representative Colburn.
Apologize if I missed this in your presentation. On the expense side, line item 58010, it's on page 205 of our book, contingency. Can you explain the increase there and what that is for?
And so, yep, sure. And I think that we spoke about this just a little while ago. And so the contingency is to be inclusive. Oh, actually, no, I'm sorry. I'm thinking of claims handling services. I apologize for that. So the contingency, this is inclusive of unsettled union contracts, insurance that's related to position vacancies. As I mentioned, that we have 3 position vacancies right now at the facility. And then also this year, we're including compliance contingency services, and those are services that would be rendered by both our lab and professional services. So we suspect with changes in how the state is moving forward with its water discharge permitting regulations, that we are going to see, we do need to plan for some changes in how we are monitoring our wastewater effluent. And we also know that we're ready, need to account for how we're managing our solids.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions regarding this item? Thank you for coming back for your second meeting with us. We appreciate that. Does anyone have any questions pertaining to anything in general tonight? If there was something that was not answered tonight with any of the budgets, please just send me an email and I can forward it on. If there's no other questions, this meeting is adjourned. We'll see everybody on Wednesday, same time, same place. Thank you.